last night where I was talking about the Odyssey and my memories of that time frame during the Trojan War and further back, and forward from that as well. And I'm going to go into a little bit more detail about that. So I said I would watch the movie last night, which I did. I think it's an outstanding movie. I didn't see any wokeness about it. Yeah, there's a couple actors or actresses or however you want to look at it that are suspect, but I don't think it detracted in any way, shape, or form from the actual masterpiece, Homer's masterpiece, the Odyssey. Right? There were deep insights that came from that movie, I believe. So I highly recommend you watch it. I'm not going to tell you what my insights were. You'll have to go watch it and get your own. But it's monumental, I think. I think it should be one of those that goes down in history. It's 111 in my time, so kind of like the angelic, numbers. So what is the relationship between the current conflict in Iran, which used to be Persia, and will be again at some point, and the Trojan War? So the Trojan War was basically a control system, just like the Strait of Hormuz. The Trojans were controlling that area. Now going up through the Bosphorus into the Black Sea to that area up there, as I'm going to describe, was very, very valuable for the Greeks, because the Greeks were the best warriors there were at that time. But the Trojans were pretty badass as well. But of course, they were eventually defeated by subterfuge with the Trojan horse. Are we having a Trojan horse today with President Donald Trump, who all of that, back and forth throughout time, as we're going to talk about, we had Achilles there, the Achilles heel. A lot of people say, oh, Achilles had a weakness. It was his heel. That's stupid, right? He was the first Olympic athlete that won all the Olympic, Olympic programs. And, he was a phenomenal warrior. He was the best warrior of his day. Now, what gave him the edge was steel, right? A lot of people don't realize this, but the ancient Greeks had steel. Everyone says it's the Bronze Age, tin and copper. That's where most of the, warrior, steel and not steel, but implements, arrows and spear points and shields and all that stuff were bronze. But steel was the edge. Just like the United States has, a lot of different edges that make us great. That's our shipbuilding, our aircraft building, missile systems, and on and on. So this is some of the incredible information that has come down to us throughout time. This battlefield edge. The United States has had the battlefield edge for quite some time, and I think that's part of history between the battle between East and West. It goes onward. It wasn't the Trojan War was like over 1,200 years, or not 1,200, probably closer to 800 years before the Battle of Thermopylae, which was an East-West battle as well against the Persians. So the Persians, coming down, trying to take over the world. The Greeks push back. The reincarnation of Achilles, Alexander the Great, would come back and conquer the known world and Persia. He was probably the only one in time. I think he's the only one in history that's ever conquered completely Persia, right? Went all the way to even into India. Now, again, we'll see Achilles and Alexander the Great come back again as Caesar. Caesar, when he went to Egypt and he had a little foray there with Cleopatra. Cleopatra took him to where the mausoleum of Alexander the Great was. he was in a casket, a see-through, casket, and you could still see his body. People have talked about that for a long time. Where is that now? Underneath the Vatican? I don't know. So, along with the books that were supposedly, and papyrus scrolls and so forth, that were supposedly burned at the Alexandria library during Caesar's time. So it's interesting because Caesar saw Alexander the Great, and he wept, because he was like, at 33, he had conquered the known world, and I'm just getting started. So, and he would, he was 33 at the time, and I guess he would go on and conquer the other western side of the known world. So Alexander the Great was getting ready to come and conquer the rest of the world, and then they took him out. They poisoned him. And what did they do with Caesar? Stabbed him, all right? Took him out. So this is kind of the pattern that a lot of us, sometimes will go through. Achilles, he was struck in the place where the armor did not protect you, in his heel, by an arrow from, I think it was Paris shot him. Paris would go on and found Paris, France, right? So, the other survivor of the Trojan, fire, and we came in and basically from the Trojan horse. I was Idomeneus, the king of Crete in that lifetime, as I talked about yesterday, when we descended from the Trojan horse, and it was on wheels. It wasn't like they show in a movie. Some things, they want to do artistic, creativity stuff. So there was some artistic stuff that went on in that movie, obviously, but overall, I think it followed and maybe even really highlighted what Homer's masterpiece, the Odyssey, was trying to show us about human nature. Right? So human nature, again, over in East and West, East being the intuitive side, and the West being the analytical side. Conflicting over and over again, and building and rising again in consciousness after being knocked down over and over and over again. We're reaching that point where we're ready to ascend in consciousness, even though there are, very dark forces still, which are trying to control and manipulate us. But this time we will prevail. Now, how is the Trojan War similar to the Straits of Hormuz? You have the similar combatants, East and West, against each other once again, and you have a control point. The Iranians, once the Persians, still the Persians, really trying to control an aspect of trade. So, what was the aspect of trade that was being suppressed during the Trojan times? Let's go into that. All right. So there was an area called Colchis at that time where you had to go through where Troy was, and Troy controlled that area, and you had to pay money to go back and forth through that area. All right. So and it used to not be that way. And the Greeks were like, hey, we're getting some pretty amazing stuff from this area. So just before the Trojan War, there was Jason and the Argonauts, 50 crew that were on this ship. I remember as a little boy being on that ship. I remember Hercules. I remember Jason. And Jason, I don't know if it was Jason. He was a king in his realm. And Hercules was a Spartan. All right. So the Spartan, lineage, Herculean lineage was in Sparta for a very long time. A lot of them would be kings and so forth. But we would come into some areas, and there was one area that in the Argonauts where they came in, and there were giants, just like you're going to see in the Odyssey. just like we saw with David and Goliath. And Goliath, of course, had several brothers that were giants. All right, so these giants are real. So, because there was genetic manipulation that went on, and some of these are, fallen angels as well that mated with the daughters of Earth, of humans, and created, more giants and so forth. And these giants went all over the world. I did several shows with Brad Olson, where we went just where I'm at right now in Nevada, just a little bit further or east of where I'm at. And the Indians basically corralled some giants into a cave that were eating the kids, right? And did a rock slide and trapped them, and then killed them in this cave, burned them in the cave. So there's these stories about that, right? So, of course, they're covered up for whatever reason, I guess because some of the giant lineage is still out there trying to control the world. So we've talked about a lot of that too. I'm not going to get too much into detail about that, but you see me jump around back and forth a little bit because I'm trying to bring you up to current time frames with some of this information from ancient history, right? So ancient history, back to Jason the Argonauts. Jason, I believe it was either Jason's father, the king before him, or Jason himself was raised by what do you call the men and men body with horse bodies of centaurs, raised by the centaurs. So genetic manipulation all the way back to Atlantean times, right? So it was still prominent, even in, of course, it was only like, I don't know, 8,000 years later. Here we are, like 25, almost 2,600 years later from that time frame, right? Or 3,600, I mean. So that was around 1,200, 1,400 time frame. And here we are pretty close to the time frame where Nibiru comes through, I believe. Nibiru, I think, is out there, has been out there. I think that one thing that came through, what was it, Atlas, whatever it was, the Atlas moon, I think, of Nibiru that came through already. So we've seen this throughout time. There's a lot of people that have, brought that into prominence of these, celestial, planets and so forth that come through and cause dramatic events here on Earth. So there was a dramatic event that happened during that time frame that's talked about in historical records, like the Argonauts. And after they got through, they formed up, and basically we're going to go back and kick Troy's ass because they're trying to keep us from getting the steel, the iron ore from Colchis, iron ore they were using to make steel, right? And you remember Jason and the Golden Fleece. So the Golden Fleece came from a river in that area, and the hills were full of gold, and it would wash down through this one river, and you'd put out sheep fleece, and it would catch some of the particles. They put the particles in the sun, and you could see them. You dust it off, and then you create monatomic gold, which was used in ceremonies for the upper elite, the kings and so forth, and they'd have these visions from the monatomic gold. So that's why it was worth its weight far more than gold was at the time. Silver was more valuable, but gold, monatomic gold, was super, super valuable because they used it for, these ceremonies. Maybe they still do. I don't know. You can get monatomic gold, but I don't think it's at the same level quality, and if you have to do a ceremony with it, and so it's not. I don't think. I'm sure there's probably somebody out there practicing that. I don't know. So let's look at a little bit of this. So the Odyssey, like I talked about, so I give you kind of a rundown, right? It's overview. So let's go into a little bit more detail. So here is the Odyssey movie. Like I said, I think some of the armor and stuff was accurate. As you see here, that's the Spartan helmet right there. You can look back in time. So they had a lot of stuff that was covered up. Some of it was even more so. The kings and the top warriors like Achilles would have steel. They'd have steel swords, steel tipped arrowheads, steel tipped spears. Of course, their armor steel, and that gave them an edge, right? So they needed this edge to be the most effective, force out there. So yeah, some of the armor, some of the helmets, and so forth, I think is fairly accurate from my memories of that time frame. Now, some of this stuff where you see giants in armor, they went to an island that had giants, and that was interesting. I think a little bit of like I talked about the little artistic little flourish on some of this stuff, but that's to be expected. Now, it goes into Odysseus eventually would make his way back home, and how could these seafaring experts not be able to make it back home? Because it wasn't just Odysseus. Idomeneus had trouble getting back. All of them had trouble getting back home. Menelaus, all of them, who was the king of Sparta and brought the Spartans, all of them had trouble getting back. So something had to happen to the seas, because they talk about whirlpools and crazy beings and so forth that would turn his men into pigs and so forth, and then he talked them out of it, and then he went to Hades and just all kinds of crazy stuff that you'll see in a lot of these ancient works. How much of that is, again, with maybe creative artistic flourish, and how much of that is real? I think you're going to find a good portion of that is actually real, but flourished. Just like they had the Trojan horse, they had it like in the sand and waves washing up on it. That's not the way it was. It was basically left out in front because they liked horses. The Trojan, they loved their horses, right? So we left them a gift. It's like, you guys won, we're out of here. Here's a gift, right? That's the way things were done back then, all right? So they thought they had won, and they're like, okay, they gave us a gift. Let's put it in front of our temple, and it's part of our worship. We're into the horses. Remember, man and horses, centaurs. All right. So there was a lot of that stuff that was still out there, guys. So eventually, we slipped out of the horse and opened the gates and came in and basically ransacked the city. Another creative flourish where, we're killing all the women and children. No, we just killed the warriors, anyone that would fight us. And then we went to where the main temple is. Now, Troy has been found for over 150 years. They've been excavating. Now, they were kind of confused because they thought Troy was a lot bigger. And so they're excavating. It's like, it's almost a nothing burger here. And they didn't realize that there were massive outer walls. And they didn't find that until they got ground penetrating radar. And they found the real walls way out there. And of course, they would have been, the city internally. You would have, you'd have like you see in the movie where they're being burned. You would have wooden structures and so forth. But there was a lot of stone, even back then, the woodens, everyone honored the woods, right? So we didn't use the wood that much, right? So except for building ships, which were sacred as well. And, everything was, considered sacred. There was a lot of, they talk about it in the book where Agamemnon, the brother of Menelaus, who, Menelaus was a Spartan. Helen was a Spartan woman who were the most beautiful women and athletic and had more out of all of the Greeks, probably in the world at the time, had more as almost the same rights as men. They would train and fight not fight, but they were trained to be warriors themselves, and they would compete in sporting games and so forth. But just like the men, because the Olympics back then, you competed in it nude, right? Because the physical form was, part of being honored, and, everybody would look, okay, this perfect form. And the women, in Sparta would, fight and train in the nude too. There are times where the men would be out fighting, and the city would be invaded, and the women would like kick some serious ass and run a serious, warriors off that were coming in to take down the city. So this is something that you see, with this movie, a little bit of that. But they don't talk about Achilles at all. I was very surprised. Now, Achilles, going back to Achilles was shot by Paris, who was an expert bowman, in the place where he was most vulnerable, where there was no armor, and that's in the back where the Achilles tendon is. Achilles tendon, right? So he was shot there. He was wounded. He couldn't, fight. He got cornered off by himself because he was such a great fighter. He was a one-man army. So he got wounded, and then he got, waylaid on. All these men came in and basically killed him. And then they ran to their citadel. It was hard for us to break into the citadel. It took a long time. They had underground tunnel systems where a lot of them escaped, and I'll go into a little bit about that. Those that escaped basically founded Rome and Paris, right? So Paris, who shot Achilles. So all of this is part of history. You can look it up. You can look at all this stuff, but I'm going to show you a little bit of it. All right, so let's look at, like I said, Colchis. You can look this up yourself. Myth, history, and strategic geography. All right, so let me share the screen real quick. This is amazing, the way this is, repeating itself over and over again throughout time until we learn from it. All right, so let's learn from it and move on. So here it is, the ancient region of Colchis, extending along the eastern coast of the Black Sea in what is now western Georgia, Russia, occupies a foundational place in the history and early metallurgy. While Greek mythology remembers it as the destination of Jason the Argonauts, it's not mythology, right? It's a real event. In pursuit of the Golden Fleece, which was not, some mythological thing either. It was a real thing. And even today, they talk about it in that area. So they know it's a real thing. And I think they even still do it. Put fleece in the water and get the monatomic gold out. So early Iron Age. What do you need to make steel? Iron and charcoal, right? Iron and carbon. So 1200 to 600 BCE, its abundant deposits of iron ore and timber combined with a strategic position along major trade corridors allowed its metal workers to develop and refine iron working techniques that would influence cultures from the Caucasus to the Aegean. So Aegean being the Greeks. All right, so it's not a myth, and I remember tapping into this from that time frame, going, why did we do the Trojan War? It's like because they were controlling that area. Why would the Greeks care? You took one of our. We got plenty of women. It's whatever. We got a lot of beautiful women. The face that launched 1,000 ships, I don't think so. It wasn't that many ships that launched, but of course, again, the artistic and flourish that was out there. I'd say a few hundred ships in all, maybe. Now, the thing that was a problem, the thing why it lasted as long as it did, kind of like what I think is happening again, is getting supplies into the area to continue the fight. All right, so we know we had that little lull in the fight against Iran. I think that was a supply issue. Same that happened with the Trojan War. It was not 10 years. That's ridiculous. But maybe off and on, over time, it's like, yeah, we're not going to pay. And so the fight, and there was like, okay, you don't have to pay anymore. Because if you look at the city of Troy, you can see that it was burned many times, and they rebuilt on the burned stuff. So I think they, pushed the envelope a little bit too much on many occasions. On this last one was the last time. Troy was completely and inexorably destroyed. Now, why? How could that be? How could that be? Well, I think there was an earth change event that happened, which is being covered up for the most part, but it's within the Iliad, like I talked about, how streams went back. A river where they're fighting went backwards, and lightning, and they fought for a whole day, 24-hour period. The sun stayed still in the sky. This has happened many times throughout time, and it's because of some celestial being that comes through that freezes the earth. All right, its gravitational pull gets frozen, and if you look at a lot of places throughout what's like a river where everybody goes through. I did a boating trip on it. Anyway, I went through this the river gorge. What the frick is that, the name of that river that goes through Arizona? The gorge, not the Red Sea. Thanks, Tara. Pretty close. Not, but it goes through Arizona. What's the river? We're River Gorge and Colorado River. Okay, it's Colorado. I don't know if it's Colorado. Maybe Colorado. Yeah, probably Colorado River. Sorry, that's a good try, Tara. But Colorado River, we'll just call it that. I think that's what it is, actually. So the Colorado River. I did a rafting trip on it one time. Yeah, Colorado River. Yeah. Thanks. Come on, get it. So Colorado. Thanks, guys. So, geez, brain farty. I didn't take my supplements today for my brain, so that's why. All right, so I have to go hit them after this. So they basically go through, and that was, I think, goes by this gravitational thing that comes through. I'm gonna call it Nibiru, Planet X, and it causes a discharge of energy, lightning, and this lightning basically carved the Grand Canyon. That's it, Grand Canyon. Colorado River goes through it. So it's you go through this one area towards the end before you get into another area where we took a helicopter out and all kind. It was pretty cool. 7-day rafting trip, and rapids, all kind of crazy stuff. It was amazing. But you go through an area where the rock is like the hardest on the planet, the hardest rock on the planet. Colorado River didn't carve that out, right? That was carved by this electrical discharge from, I believe, Planet X, right? So, and other people have talked about this. So, anyway, Worlds in Collision. Who wrote that? So, man, I'm just like getting a lot of stuff into this. Worlds in Collision. Worlds. And this guy was basically shut down because he was giving up too much information. Velikovsky. All right, Immanuel Velikovsky, basically Worlds in Collision. Look up that book. I read everything that he put out, and basically he's talking about like when Venus came in. It was like they described it as a witch, with flying hair and so forth. So when Venus came in and settled where it's at, because it doesn't fit here, and so it got stuck where it's at right now. And some of this is from these planets that come through and cause electrical discharge. And Velikovsky talked about a lot of this stuff. So Immanuel Velikovsky, Laurel Canyon, that's CIA. Laurel Canyon, CIA. Don't talk about it too much, otherwise they'll shut you down. I found out. So they'll come after you. Hercules. So Hercules with the 50 Argonauts and Idomeneus as a little boy. They didn't include me. That's I should have. But when the kids go on there, they're basically learning. They're the elites of the kings and so forth. And I was going to be king eventually. So they let them go on some of these trips so they could be around all these top guys, and learn from them. So I remember learning a lot from Hercules. He took me under his wing to a certain extent and taught me a lot of stuff. And, I've done the Spartan race. And 6 years ago, I did the Beast Spartan race. And they have this one thing that they call the Hercules hoist. Because remember, Hercules had all these things that he had to do. And one of those was like this hoist with like you grab a rope, it's attached to a pulley, and you start pulling heavy sandbags and so forth, and you pull it to the top, and then you go to the next. That's the last thing actually you do. That's right, I remember that. So and you got like dozens of other, and you run over a dozen miles, right? About 13. For this one, I did it here in Tahoe. It was like through the mountains, and it was snowing, and it's like, Jesus, it's like, can it get any harder? I was one of the few that would actually get in the water and swim, of course. Most people just like, I'm not going to do that. And they let you. They said, this one where you get in this lake and swim to this raft and, get something, I forget what it was, and then swim back. If you don't think you're going to survive that, then we don't want you to do it. So most people didn't do it. Of course, I'm, seal stud. I went ahead and did it. And so that was a great race. So anyway, Spartan, Hercules was a Spartan, like I talked about. So it's interesting how these things, I'm trying to, give you guys how this stuff comes throughout time, comes forward into time over and over again until we learn from it. And hopefully you guys are. So let's go back to Jason and the Argonauts. So the Argonauts, basically, the 50 Argonauts, this was just before, as they talk about here, the years before the Trojan War. All right. And of course, the Golden Fleece, and like I'm telling you, so that they're saying this was around 1300 BC. It wasn't that long ago. It was real close to the Trojan War because I remember because I was a kid, right? So, and it goes on and talks about, so I don't know, like I think when I went to war, it was around 30. So, so it says when Jason was 20 years old. So people that lived that long back then, right? If you lived to 50, that was good. If you're 60, you're like ultra old, right? So, that's nothing now. We got everybody that's living, we got a lot of people living up to 80, 90, 100 years now. So it's things are going really well for us. And I think as time goes forward, over the next decade or so, when these new technologies continue to start to roll out, like what I'm involved with, LifeWave, it's bringing in these technologies again. Right, that were utilized back in Atlantean times. So this is, and people are remembering, and this information is getting dumped on those, downloaded. I won't say dumped, but downloaded to those that are ready for it, like David Schmidt. All right. So the Argonauts were just before the Trojan War, and again, they were being restricted from getting that thing that gave the Greeks the edge, right? They made a lot of money on the monatomic gold, and they made a lot of money and control with the steel that they were secretly producing for their armor and their weaponry. So this is some of the things in some of this, right? Odysseus had the good armor. You'll see if you haven't read the book, but you'll see in the movie where he's like the only one that can string the bow, because a lot of the elite, myself included, would go to Sparta to train because they were the best warriors. Achilles went and trained with the Spartans. Menelaus, who was Idomeneus is not Idomeneus, the leader. It was Idomeneus, wasn't it? Or whatever. So anyway, I was Idomeneus, but I was, Agamemnon. So Agamemnon was the king of Sparta, or not the king of the, what was that one temple? Menelaus, I think. So Menelaus, so there's too much, and I don't have it all lined up. So I'm all over the place. So sorry, but that's the way it is when you go back in time and you're remembering some of the stuff from ancient memories, right? That you've experienced. So again, Colchis with the golden fleece, and like I'm saying, they got the iron from that area and created the steel. That was a secret weapon. Not everybody was creating steel, but you had the Spartans and the other Greeks that were. So they depended on that, and the Trojans were trying to restrict that. So I don't know, maybe the Trojans have a little bit of, this is the area. So this is here. All right, controlling this sea here. Of course, the Bosphorus Straits, and then you went into the Black Sea, and then up here is where Colchis is, the current day Georgia, and then back over here is, if you go back over here even further to the east, you will see the Persian Empire. So Persian Empire eventually would come back in ritualistic clubs with names. Yeah, exactly. So let's go back. Steel was known in various ancient cultures. This is new. AI is picking up on it. But I remember putting this out many years ago, talking about this, and it was nowhere. It was not in history books. But here I am disclosing it many years ago. A lot of stuff that I've disclosed, my memories, has been validated. Right? It's like you open the door and you shed light on something, and then, yes, we've always known this. No, but some of us, I don't need credit for it. It's better to be, but it is coming out. So this goes up India, China. We're using some of these. Had Captain Steel. Greece and Rome, of course. Steel's development in ancient cultures laid the groundwork for future advancements in metallurgy and manufacturing, showcasing its vital role in shaping human civilization. So, in the Bronze Age, no one knew about steel, but yet they were. Now that I've been talking about it. How about that? So there it is. So monatomic gold. This goes away, like I said, Egyptian culture. Atomic gold has ancient origins, particularly in Egyptian culture, where it was believed to possess incredible spiritual and physical powers. So, of course, it would be used by the top people, right? Reflecting a long-standing human fascination with refined metals and their transformative properties. Right. So that's so a couple things. That's why another reason why the Trojan War and the Trojans were trying to control that and make money off of it from like the Greeks that went up there. It was their time, effort, and money that was getting that, and then they were shipping it back. And the Trojans, no time, no money. They wanted a piece of that, just like what's going on right now with Iran, the Persians, right? So the Persians have been a pain in the ass for a long time throughout history, and here they're doing it again. So let's bring you up to speed, up to date to Thermopylae. So that period of time was like around 1200 BC. And then, like I said, there was a period of, the Earth went through some Earth changes, really tough. And it might be around that time frame to look, but I think I remember around this time frame where Moses escaped from Egypt. I have to look again, but the part of the Red Sea, yeah, it sounds like Nibiru came through and caused all these problems. But there was that news coming through, and then used it to their advantage, just like we're going to see earth changes coming up, guys. Now, who is going to use that to their advantage? Who is going to be caught blindsided? Not we and you, right? Because I'm telling you it's coming. All right. So, Thermopylae, the hot gates, there was, and why I call them the hot gates, Thermopylae, thermal baths, all right, because there was like a, volcanic activity in that area. And that's where they decided, because it was like, restricted, they would hold the permit there. So battle Thermopylae, I'm not going to go into that. I'm telling you the similarities and so forth. I was at the battle of Thermopylae. I talk about it in my book, The Awakening of a Warrior, that lifetime, how I was the general that basically defeated the Persians a year later. And I was at Thermopylae. I stopped them from coming down behind us in a pass. I annihilated their, secret army that came through. But once they, and they were waiting for them to come behind. It didn't happen, so they allies, part allies as well. It was like hot gates, and they would stack behind each other, some up to 12 deep, and it would create a wall, impenetrable wall, and the Spartans were in front of that, and they would annihilate anyone that got close. And if they kept pressing, they'd press them back, and then they'd give a little bit, and then chop them up, and then press them. The guys that were in the second, third, and fourth, fifth line, and then they would push, and then it would give, push and give, and each time they would catch guys behind. They would get behind their lines and all kind of crazy stuff, and then eventually, through that process, holding at the hot gates, they were allowing the rest of Athens and the other city-states of Greece at that time to prepare. Athens was when we stopped them behind the lines, or my group stopped them behind the lines. I talk about this in my book, The Awakening of the Warrior. Read that book. If you're like, I don't know about past lives, well, read that book, and maybe it'll awaken something for you, and you'll see what real history is. All right. And of course, I have courses there. If you go in the description box, there's a place where you go, the Intuitive Warrior courses, where I teach how to do meditations and tap into your own past lives. So it's definitely available to you. Consciousness, we're taught and we're trained and we're brainwashed into just staying in the five senses and not getting out of that. Anything outside of that is like verboten. All right. You can't go there. And the religious institutions, the political, and Mockingbird media and all of that is basically aligned to keep us dumbed down, guys. But awakening your own intuition is part of the process that we're going through. Why not do it? Why not do it? Don't doubt it. Don't come in and make your stupid comments, because you'll get deleted forever, right? If you do. If you don't believe it, that's fine. If you got some other, you want to have some talking points about it, that's fine. We'll have a good conversation about it, but don't be an asshole, right? I don't like that at all. And it's good you're behind your little internet, right? So, yes, I've been a warrior throughout a lot of lifetimes. I don't like to put up the bullshit. All right, so Alexander the Great, like I talked about, when I was Alexander the Great's, eventually I would be his, I would grow up with him, and I would be in all the battles with him. I would save his life. And I know of once, and that was in Pakistan, of all places. I remember that place. And he got wounded then, and that was the end of it. All right, we stopped at that point, put him on a riverboat, and went down the river, and went out to sea, and then we got back to Baghdad, and he got poisoned there. Right, so he was feeling better again, and he was getting all ready. We're getting the armies ready again, and he was poisoned. Right, because there were the deep state, even back then, wanted to maintain control. and he was getting too big. He was getting too big, and so they couldn't control him anymore. So and then I was going to marry his sister, and his sister's name was who's the woman in Egypt that was with Caesar. That was his sister's name too, all the way back then. Jeez, I got too much going on in my head. So anyway, I was going to marry his sister. I was cut off just like he was. And Cleopatra, thank you. So Cleopatra was Alexander the Great's sister, and Cleopatra if I had married her, would have carried on with Alexander the Great's, because I was going to bring everything forward. We would have maintained control of his empire, right? Like Caesar, like Alexander the Great was, and so we never got married, of course. So, and then Cleopatra was the last pharaoh of Egypt, right? And after that, the Romans came in and basically took over. So, very, very interesting how all this relates, and put it all together. Good job, Threads, and Cleopatra. So a lot of women over time believe they're a reincarnation of Cleopatra, and it could be because when there is a connection in a time, a particular person, people can come back into that lifetime and experience it, just like I'm telling you, I'm going back into my lifetimes and re-experiencing all of that stuff. All right. So I was not with Cleopatra, never that Cleopatra or any Cleopatra that I know of. So if you're Cleopatra and you're like, okay, I've been with Mike, no, right? So don't go there, right? These are past lifetimes, and they're not this lifetime, right? Because I have some people get a little confused on that, and it's like, I remember being with that. It's like, no. So I don't remember that. So I get a lot of that, unfortunately. So that's why I don't talk about past lifetimes that much. But I think it's very important to bring that up now. So let's look at the area where Alexander the Great had control. This is Alexander the Great's empire right here, right? So all of this area, he conquered all of this. He was Macedonian, and I remember, like I said, growing up with him. And Socrates taught us. And Socrates, who's like one of the three great Athenian philosophers. And Socrates taught us about the Trojan War. And when Alexander the Great got that the book by Homer, he carried it around from that day forward, because I think he really connected with Achilles. So the Trojan War, when we went across, as you see right here, when we came across, and we went through, here's the Black Sea. So we came across, there's Troy, or there's on my side. So here's Troy right here. This is as big as I can make it. Let me see if I can make it bigger. So yeah, it's about as big as so Macedonia. So then we came across Thrace, and then came down across the Bosphorus and all that stuff. So there was Troy. So when we came to Troy, when we defeated the Trojans and destroyed Troy once and for all, and would not let it be rebuilt, we built a pyre and a temple, a small temple for Achilles, and that was his mausoleum. And when Alexander the Great came through, it's not there anymore. Somebody went through and took it, destroyed it, whatever. But when we came through, Alexander the Great, that was the one place he wanted to go before anything else. So he was connecting with that lifetime. It's pretty cool. And it sounds like Caesar was as well with Cleopatra. Oh, I remember the name. So it's a lifetime after lifetime after lifetime. And you bring in this information, you fight these battles, and it's for humanity or it's against humanity, depending on which side you're on, right? And that's where we're at right now, all the way over here in Perseus, the Persian Gulf. Wow. Look at that. So Alexander conquered all of that, all the way up, all the way over to India, and that's in Pakistan area, and that's where he got wounded, and then he came down into the Arabian Sea, and then came back up, and I think maybe the Red Sea, and then we went back up to, where did we go? Mesopotamia, so Babylon. So we went to Babylon, and that's where Alexander the Great was poisoned. So, and then he came back to Caesar, and who's he come back since then? Well, I have a list of names. At one point, at a couple lifetimes, he was my son. I don't ever remember being his son, but maybe I don't know. I'm not saying that I'm like over him, but we all work together in these lifetimes to extend, help each other and extend humanity and so forth. All right, so let's go a little bit further. So the Spartan, I had to throw this in because my lovely wife has been a Spartan warrior woman for lifetimes. Not always with me, but some maybe, I don't know. So I haven't found them, but I know she is. So she was in ancient Sparta. Spartan women were famous in ancient Greece for they did have more freedom than women elsewhere in the Greek world. So back then, everywhere else in the world, in the rest of Greece and Athens and so forth, they really looked up to Spartan women because they had freedoms. The women, just like now in the Muslim world, women don't really have rights, and they have to cover up, and that's the way it was back then for even the Greek women, other than Spartan women. Like I told, they were like the men did in the nude in sports and so forth. So. And they had to have perfect bodies to have perfect men babies, all right, and that's why the Spartans were so for well over 1,000 years, because they were incredibly in shape, and they had steel, right? They had steel where most everyone didn't. So they were very much into all of that. I'm sure they were the monatomic goal. For their lead and so forth. So had good visions and good abilities and so forth. So Achilles, like I said, was very famous back many years since that time. Bad reception. You guys getting bad reception from me? Do I need to change my internet? My internet. Yeah, let me change my internet. So stand by. All right. Just had some kombucha. Good stuff. All right. All right. So somebody put Gabbard, Tulsi Gabbard. I would say she's probably a Spartan in a past lifetime. I'm pretty sure she was, actually, looking at her. So, and that's not for me to determine anyone's past lifetimes, although I used to. I don't do that anymore. All right, so Paris, like I talked about, is said to have shot an arrow that hit Achilles in the Achilles tendon, which was a vulnerable place, and the armor. It wasn't because Achilles was weak there. That doesn't make sense, does it? Right? The first Olympic athlete that won all the races. And back then, the Olympics was all about war. So how far you could throw the javelin, the discus, run, and all kinds of crazy stuff. So that was the Olympics back then. Of course, it's evolved to all kind of crazy stuff now. That one of my favorites is the women's volleyball. Right. So we did they're probably all Spartan women in past lifetimes. That's great. So, so Paris went on. Paris and Aeneas, they escaped from the citadel in the center, and you can go see that today. I guess I've seen pictures of it and so forth in the old Troy, but they haven't talked about the underground caverns that they had. Now they had underground cistern, and they had underground passages as well. I don't care where underground passages are. They don't talk about it. I don't care where they're at. That's weird, isn't it? Yeah. It's like they want to always cover that up. I remember when we were in Iraq as CIA guys, and we're in one area where Saddam Hussein had this bunker system. It had these huge, thick steel doors, and they could be closed, and there was like one of those big wheels that would tighten it up. And the tunnel system went all the way to the palace around this pond. And some of the guys had done it early on, but then they shut it down for us, and we couldn't go in there anymore. It's crazy how they do that. It's like they just don't like it. They don't want us to know anything about underground tunnels. But anyway, a lot of the Trojans escaped through, and their wives and some of their families and so forth, through the tunnel system. Now, eventually, when I made it back to Crete, I would allow Paris and Aeneas to go on the western side of Crete and start their own little city, which they started, but it didn't work out so good for them. That's why we weren't over there, because it wasn't a great area. But we're like, you guys can go over there if you want. So interesting, right? So here I was after the war. I'm like, let's just make up and work together, and because I allowed them to survive and live, because they were destitute. There was no food. We helped them out. Eventually, they would leave, and Aeneas would go and found Rome, and Paris would found Paris. So the East-West connection starting to happen, right? And that's of course Europe, Italy and Paris. That was part of the Eastern Empire, the creative, intuitive side, and then of course the analytical side that we had in the West, with all our stuff that was basically starting to formulate, which was good and bad, right? Of course, theirs was good and bad, but we balanced each other. It was like the Temple of Solomon, the two pillars in the Temple of Solomon, and those two pillars were the analytical and the feminine, intuitive side, and the analytical, masculine side. So we had Jacob and Boaz, the two pillars there. And again, I believe that Moses and the Jews from Egypt escaped and refounded Jerusalem during the time frame where there was all this destruction that happened all over the world. Right? So they founded all that, and so that's the balancing that's been going on, the East and West. And of course, I founded, eventually, I would found from Rome, I would be Constantine the Great, and found Constantinople, which is in Turkey, right? Right up there on the Bosphorus Straits, right? Where that, trade route, was. So Constantinople would be that East-West, line. And it was good for over 1,000 years. And then the Muslims came in and sacked the city. Now I was Constantine the Great, and I was Constantine the 11th, angelic number, the last emperor of Constantinople. So bookend lifetimes, which you'll see when you guys tap into your lifetimes. Now, a lot of you, you're going to be, newbies to past lifetimes. Maybe you've had some memories that creep through, and so forth. Maybe a little psychic help, maybe some focused meditations like I have in my course. You can do these meditations online. There's lots of that. That's how you tap into it. So you're basically shutting down the analytical side, the Western the Western world, right? And you're allowing the Eastern part of your brain, the feminine, intuitive side, to come through and give you insights onto your past lives and your future and all that kind of stuff. So you guys know I tap into all this stuff and talk about it all the time. All right, so I love history too. Threads, good. It's and that's, I've always loved history, and then I started finding out about my past lives, and I was like, all the stuff that I was attracted to. So look at the stuff that you're attracted to, and it could be a lot of different things. I'm attracted to everything because I've been everywhere. I'm everywhere, man. So I've been all over, and I've been Chinese, I've been Japanese. I'm turning Japanese. I'm really turning Japanese. I really think so. I've done that in past lifetimes, and so I tap into my samurai lives. My abilities and martial arts have been phenomenal. And I was like, how am I so damn good in martial arts? Well, hello. You've been a samurai in a lot of lifetimes, and a badass one too. You've trained under the best, Musashi Miyamoto. So I wasn't him, but I trained under him. So I helped write the Book of Five Rings, right? Because he was not literate. All right. So very, very interesting times when you start to connect with all that. So again, like I said, the Aeneas, founded Rome. His father says Aeneas was a Trojan hero in Greek Roman mythology, not mythology. See how they throw that in there, guys? It's mythology. It didn't really happen. It's just somebody just created in their mind. That sucks. I hate that. The son of Trojan prince Antisus and the Greek goddess Aphrodite. Woo! He must have been a stud. He was a stud. All right. His father was a second cousin of King Priam of Troy, who would be taken down during the fall of Troy. So Greek mythology, Roman mythology, Virgil's Aeneid talks about all this stuff. So he's cast as the ancestor of Romulus and Remus, who supposedly were raised by what was it? Not a lion, but a not a coyote, but a something, right? Some animal that let the boys suckle from their tits, right? From the teats. All right. What was it? A wolf? I think it's a wolf. Yeah. So yes, wolf. Thank you, Eldon. My wife is like, what's going on with you? Hello, I'm going into timeline after timeline after timeline. Geez, I'm popping in and out. That's like, it's kind of confusing, right? So, I got it lined up, but I'm not, I don't remember everything. I'm trying to talk from memory from a lifetime that happened thousands of years ago. Hello, get over yourself, all right? So, I'm gonna keep going. I don't care if I don't get everything perfect. So, I have everything lined up. I should have just gone for my stuff. So anyway, let's jump into the present. That's enough of history. I know a lot of you guys like it, and I like it, but we got to look at what's going on right now sometimes too. Now, Jim Mars died on August 2nd, 2017 from a heart attack. Yeah, heart attack. Yeah. Mm-hmm. All right, so conspiracy theorist Jim Mars died at 73. He was on a lot, coast to coast back in the day. He was always revealing. He was like one of the top conspiracy theories for a long time. And I'll show you some of his books here in a little bit. All right, so here he is right here, Jim Mars, incredible guy. One of the things that he was very famous for was the JFK assassination. So he was the early guy that really came out with a lot of information on the deep state, right? And that's who we have to defeat in our current time. And that's what Trump is defeating in Iran, all right? The Nazis. And I've talked about this in other shows. We're defeating the deep state Nazis, right? So that we can rise in consciousness. The East-West thing, remember? And then you guys that are still stuck in 5D or five senses, geez, my mind is all over the place today. So, of course, because I'm in and out of historical time, so I'm like a mess in my head. So anyway, there is, we're moving into 5D, five-dimensional reality. And in the secret space programs, we're able to move dimensionally with different machines and so forth, all right? So my wife is saying grounded. So, yeah, it's probably time to get grounded again after I've been out there in La La Land, so floating around in different time frames. So let's look at the Crossfire guy. He's written, like I said, Jim Marr has written a lot of very interesting books. So, he's written a lot of these books, as you see here: Rule by Secrecy, The Hidden History, The Freemasons, The Great Pyramids, tying all this stuff like I'm trying to do all the way back throughout history and how we're trying to defeat the rise of the Fourth Reich, right? We're in the Fourth Reich. The Nazis were not, right? So they started the Third Reich, and with Hitler, the Fourth Reich is under Obama, right? Yes, things are getting a little funky, right? And the terror conspiracy, 9/11, he talked a lot about that, like I have over the years. The $1 trillion conspiracy, population control, our occulted history. Do the global elite conceal ancient aliens? Woo, that's going to get you in trouble, as I've found out. All right. So he started going there. Above, top secret, UFO, aliens, 9/11, ancient aliens and the New World Order, ancient aliens and Illuminati. Now let's look at this one. When did this happen? I know, but I'm just going to show you guys. All right. So this one published. Let me get this. Yes, I'll accept your cookie, like Juan would. Juan likes cookies, right? Give Juan cookies and he's good. 2018, all right? 2018. And Jim Marrs died. Where did I say that? Anyway, he died like within a year and a half of the ancient aliens, right? So this is where you get in trouble. This is what they don't want you to know. This is the one where they are going there now. So we're disclosing that. And, in the Trojan War, if you read the Iliad, they're fighting with gods and goddesses. Yes, with aliens. All right. So, and these aliens live for thousands of years, some of them, from the Anunnaki, from Nibiru and so forth. So that's what, we're seeing now. The Anunnaki are good now, because the Anunnaki, as I've talked about, and others have talked about, were raided by the reptilians, right? Draco reptilians, and that's the Draco reptilians are the ones that are their offspring. Their Draco reptilians themselves have been pushed off this world by the Anunnaki and a lot of the good Galactic Federation types, which pretty much Galactic Federation, they're all good. But they pushed them off, Pleiadians, the Arcturians, and Syrians. I'm a Syrian, and my wife's a Pleiadian. So Syrians and Pleiadians like each other a lot. Right? So fun. So we're all basically offspring of these different races that came down to settle here. And then the reptilians came in because they like to dominate and control, and they like to eat our children. All right. So sacrifice and all that kind of stuff. So Agamemnon sacrificed his daughter so that he would have, so that they would get, that the fleet would have good winds. So the sacrifice stuff has been going on for a long time in some of these elite circles. Now, was Agamemnon tapped into the reptilians? Maybe. Now, I can't say that absolutely, but when I look at it, I'm like, yeah, it was tapped into that. He was some kind of offspring or something. So that's probably why he didn't survive, and why we're not talking so much about some of these people, because they're bad. Some of them are bad. Some of them integrate into our cultures and societies and cause problems, right? So war obviously is a problem. Everything could be taken care of. Now, I think that Jim Mars is part of the Clinton death count, and the Clintons aren't doing it, but he was basically talking about a lot of their stuff. Now, here's a list. So trying to tie in all of this stuff from past lifetimes, all of this stuff from ancient, alien stuff and current alien stuff, and make it fit into our current reality and how we process the information, all the stuff that's going on. We are going to have earth changes like they did back then. So the same thing that happened in the last go around, big go around with the East and West conflict, we're going through it again. So this is how I'm saying that the conflict of the Trojan War. Interesting how that movie Odysseus comes out now, isn't it? Wow. Yeah. Interesting, right? That's just coincidental? No. Has anybody ever told you of the similarity of that? No. But now you know. No, but now you know, right? Sometimes I rhyme, sometimes I don't, right? Sometimes I make sense, and sometimes it's like I can't remember anything and make any kind of sense. But James McDougal to take out Ron Brown. Secretary of Commerce died in a plane crash on April 3rd, 1996. That's 666. Nines are considered sixes for the deep state. So 1996. While on an official trade commission to Croatia, the crash was attributed to pilot error, right? Really? So attempted land to Dubrovnik Airport. And so this is a military plane, Air Force CT-43, a modified Boeing 737. So the flight, they eat our children. Of course, they're friggin' horrific. Barbara Wise, Charles Messner, on and on and on. All these people. Now, this is interesting. The following Clinton bodyguards are also dead. Major William Barclay, Captain Reynolds, Sergeant Hanley, Sergeant Sabel, Major General Robertson, Colonel Dinsberger, Colonel Kelly, Specialist Rhodes, Steve Willis, Conway LeBeau, and Todd McKinnon, and Robert Williams. So, and the most recent, Seth Rich, the DC staffer Mercer. This is obviously long ago. When was this put together? Because there's been a lot more people that have been killed since then. Guarantee. This was back in 22. So that's 4 years ago. And, anyone that's trying to reveal the deep state. So let's look at how many people. Barack Obama. There's been some people that, and more recently, people connect with Barack Obama, the new Hitler. Tafari Campbell, who was his chef, Martha's Vineyard home. Hello. Yeah, that's the guy was like in super shape. I guess he swam well. He had his own boogie board or whatever. He'd go out to the ocean and boogie board. The deepest, of course, that could happen if you're like, but they found him. Why? Okay, so this is where it gets very interesting, because the story changes and changes and changes. When the story changes, is okay, that's deep state. All right, so they didn't find him in one story until he washed up on shore. And then he was missing, so they searched for him and they found him in 8 feet of water. Like, well, which is it? And that's the way it is when it's a deep state. Now, Tracy, my wife, said that they were digging out his body again because they supposedly have something that they want to check out, his dead body, decaying body. Maybe he was poisoned and they're going to find that out now. I don't know. Or even that's really real. That could be just disinformation that's out there, because I looked at it, I couldn't find it. But she saw it somewhere and she was going to share it with me, and I don't have it. The Obama's beloved chef died of accidental drowning. Autopsy, right? Must be whoever did the autopsy must be a deep state paid boy or girl, whatever. Right? So, and that's the way that works. All right, so the most recent one that happened July 18th, 2 days ago. Police investigating after dead body is found at home owned by husband of far left squad member Ayanna Pressley. So you might remember her. She's that bald-headed black woman that has some kind of thing where you lose your hair. So that's her. Her husband. There was a death investigation is underway. So there's hubby. Investigation is underway at a home owned by the husband, a far left Democrat, after a body was discovered on the property Saturday afternoon. Yeah, that's really unfortunate. So we're going to find out something about them. It's kind of the way that this seems to be working towards, revealing and taking down some of these people. All right. So now a lot of you guys, Stanley, that's a man name, Ann Dunham. You know who that is, right? That's Obama's mama. That's not his mama, according to Juan O'Savin, because she was seen in bikini shortly after having given birth, and she shows no signs of having, had any birth going on. And her little boy, who I guess if he was born from her, he's not a black man. It makes him mixed race, a white and a black, or a white and Indonesian. Right? So Indonesians considered a black race? I don't think so, but they're dark skinned, but they're not the black race from like Africa, right? No. All right, but he ends up being a black man as president. The first black man as president. No, the first mixed race, and he's not black. He's Indonesian and white, or is he? All right. So, which is it? Because Juan is saying he was born in Canada months before they said he was born. So I don't know. So that's kind of the mystery about all this stuff. You look at these guys and you're like, is it real or is it something else? I think it's a lot of something else with a lot of these guys. All right. So what else do I got? All right. Kick them out. So the French are not liking the Nazi Ukrainians that are going to march in their Bastille Day. Because that's when, in Bastille, that's when they basically chop the heads off of all the elite, like I think we should do now. All right. So, of course, they're not in, kings and queens and so forth like that. And then their ministers, they chopped off a lot of those heads for a long time with guillotines. And you know that they had guillotines for us, don't you? In some of these concentration camps that were setting up all around the country. That was Obama, during Obama's time. Jesse Ventura exposed that. And of course, they did a destruction on his credibility, which was a bunch of lies. And, that's another story of itself. So French protesters target Ukrainian troops. Just like Ukrainian troops came to J6, just like Ukrainian troops came to the up in Canada where they had that trucker convoy to basically protest the lockdowns. And then they sent in the Ukrainian troops, dressed them up as local police force, and they beat the hell out of the very docile, very easy to manipulate Canadians, right? All right, so sorry, Canadians, but I'm right. You're gonna have to grow some up there. It might be a little too late for you, but maybe not. I don't know. But you can get some help from us if you become part of America. We're going to help you. Pray that it happens. It starts with Alberta and then starts to spread like a good thing would spread, right? So protesters, let's look at this. Ukrainians, they're Nazis, and they want to help take over the world with the rest of the Nazis.
National holiday is for the French army to parade. It is not primarily for the armies of European countries or a coalition of the willing. There is no reason for Ursula von der Leyen to be in the stands or Mark Rutte for NATO. And then obviously Ukraine with Zelensky present, along with elements of the Ukrainian army that we know are linked to very extremist or even neo-Nazi elements.
Oh, neo-Nazi, he said it.
All of this is desirable for France for peace.
Right, so, neo-Nazi goes, the French have a little problem with that, right? So the Nazis basically came in and took over France, and they controlled France for a long time. And then when the Americans that are helping with this East-West thing came in to rescue them, save them, they had all of these guerrilla forces that helped out, and then eventually when the Allies, I'll call them allies because it was mostly U.S., but some Britons, right? And so the Allies, when we came over and rescued the French, they joined us, and then we together we pushed the Germans back lines and got out of there and through Switzerland. Yeah, those Swiss, they'll take money and they'll look the other way. But and they had that cross, that cross where a lot of the money came from. The Templar treasures. Went to Switzerland. That's why they have the Templar Cross. And that's the Swiss banks, and they still control a lot of that. Of course, there's the Rothschilds, and all that's involved, and the Khazarian mafia, because the Jewish were the Khazarian mafia, because they weren't really Jewish. Because Jewish for a long time, the Jewish population was used for money. They were very smart and wise with the money, so they were bringing the Jewish groups, even in Egypt, right? So, and they would handle the money and the finances and so forth. They were very good at that, or they're good at the math and all that stuff. But then there was another group, the Khazarians, in the Ukrainian area, that were kind of like very bad, and they would like sacrifice and eat children and rob from people that came through their area. And so they needed some Jewish people to handle the funding and all that kind of stuff. And they rose their hand. The Khazarians rose their hand and said, "We're Jewish. We're Jewish." No, they weren't, and they're still not. But that's where that came from. Anyway, these history lessons are fun, right? So neo-Nazi, Khazarians, all part of one big consortium, mafia group, if you want, cartel that's trying to control and manipulate the world. Of course, the cartels throughout South America, Central America, and in Colorado, and Washington D.C. NOC. Wow, that's a nice one. Thank you so much. Nice share. Appreciate that. So there's a lot of this, information that's out there that we've been sharing over time. But here I am bringing it all the way back in history, right? All the way forward. So we're in an exact same time as the Trojan War again, right? Once again, will we win this time? So, crazy astronomical events, the craziest astronomical event in decades
traded there
has started. So you guys are going to see the sun that's coming up. It's hitting us right now, this coronal hole, because this was a couple days ago that this was shared. So I'm bringing you up to speed. So Stefan Burns, I would say he's definitely one of the good Atlanteans, and he's back again.
Hey everyone, geophysicist Stefan Burns here. We have something incredible happening right now, not just on Earth. We've had an exceptional amount of earthquake activity. I'm getting tons of people asking what the heck is happening, both in real life and of course through this channel. Everyone's kind of wondering and a little bit worried about all this recent activity, especially because it's been so clustered around the Americas with Venezuela, tens of thousands gone from that. May they rest in peace. Really, really traumatic and destructive and just an awful event. Now the 7.3 struck Mexico, 30 plus seconds of shaking. The 7.2 struck Japan the same day as Venezuela. There's been big earthquakes in the Philippines, Indonesia, Kamchatka, Russia.
So there's a lot going on. And look at the size of that coronal hole. Woo-hoo-hoo. And it's north to south, east to west, and it's coming. That energy's coming at us. It's probably hitting us right now. Because when did Stefan do this? Back on July 18th, a couple days ago. So he's saying a couple days ago it was going to be a couple days out. So we're getting it. So I anticipate, we've already started to see it. Off the coast of California, we're probably going to see a pretty significant earthquake. Will it happen? Because when I remote view it, I remote viewed it from last year, but I remote viewed it in the fall, and I saw that it was very hot, and I was like, wow, maybe we're going to have a hot day, and then it's going to happen. Because when you see something very strong on the coming line of reality, that's probably going to happen. All right. So when you see it very strong on a timeline, because there's lots of different timelines, and we can direct some of these different timelines. But when you see something that's super, super prominent, like I did, you think it's going to happen soon. But will it be during this summer? Because things are really hot right now, like I saw. And I hope that it doesn't. I pray that it doesn't happen. And I know a lot of you are praying that it doesn't happen. That can have an effect. But I think we're going to have something, right? So pretty significant tsunami. Now, is it going to hit America this time on a massive level? It could be a foreshock. So if we have, and I think that's what's going to happen. I think we're not going to get the big 9. 9.2 is what I'm seeing. Maybe a little bit more, actually. And that will cause incredible tsunami and devastation, right? All the way up and down the west coast of Americas, right? Into Canada and so forth. So depending on where it actually strikes, I think it might be off of Washington or Oregon State. One of those, off in that fault line right in there. So we could get a little foreshock, 7.6 or something like that, get a pretty badass tsunami, and we might get it might trigger another earthquake, probably will, along the San Andreas or Hayward Fault, or there's like so many. It might trigger it then, or it might trigger something small. But we just saw, I think last night, another pretty significant 5.6, which is getting up there, magnitude out there on the fault line. That's Cascadia fault line. That's probably going to cause a tsunami that I saw. All right, so we'll see. Like I said, this coronal hole, as you're seeing right here, is moving into. Let's see if I can get it. There we go. It's about right there. Look at that. That is friggin' massive, right? So that's plasma energy coming at Earth, and Earth's getting it, right? And it is gonna cause some electrical activity, which usually translates to earthquakes, tsunamis and volcanic activity. So we'll see. We're in the window for it. I see 27 is going to be far more significant than anything we're going to get this year. And this year is building up to be one of the biggest years ever. We'll see. If we get a big earthquake, which I think is right, we're right on the cusp of it, then it's going to be, probably one of the most active years we've had in a very long time, in recorded history, maybe recent recorded history. So, but next year and into the year after, even into 28, but 27, really, really significant earthquake and tsunami and volcanic activity is what I'm seeing. All right, so that's what we're seeing. That's what I'm seeing, and we're seeing it whether you want to see it or not. It's happening, right? Whether you want to see this is a repeat of the Trojan War or not, it's happening, right? As I've described it, throughout time, how to build up to this final stage and final release, I believe. And that's exactly what we want. We want this to be the final stage, the final outcome, right? All right, I'm going to take my my supplements for my brain, right? All right, guys, lots of love. Stay in the love vibration, and I'll see you guys next time. Can history predict the future? Of course it can. We've seen it over and over again, where one country will, rise to power. Other countries, see it as a threat, and then there's war. So, we've seen this over and over again, especially with the United States, rising to power, and in some cases, of course, abusing that power. Or are we abusing that power now with Iran? If we get too rambunctious and too arrogant in defeating our enemy, which is the IRGC, that could be the one thing that could turn everyone against us, all right, which has happened throughout history. Now, I'm going to go watch the movie The Odyssey by Homer. Who wrote the book, the Iliad and the Odyssey. I read both of those as a young man, probably, a teenager, not really a young man. So, 13, 14, 15 is when I read those books. So, they just called to me. So, and I have past life memories in those timeframes, which we're going to talk about. Now, in those past life memories, and I wrote about this in The Awakening of a Warrior, this particular time frame, where I have these memories of as King Idomeneus of Crete, having fought in the Trojan War, and being in, because only the greats were inside the Trojan horse, Achilles, myself, and others. So we basically, we're let ourselves out and started battle inside the walls, opened the gates, and the Greeks came in. Now the time frames that they talk about, not so much. They weren't as long as what they said, but there was, I believe, and I've talked about this in many other instances, where the planet Nibiru came close at that time frame, because they talk about it in the Iliad, where there was a battle where they fought for like 24 hours with it being daylight, and on the other side of the world, the Mayans talked about having 24 hours of darkness. So there was obviously something that happens when this planet, this 12th planet, comes into our environs every 3,600 years and causes these events, right? So they've been documented. Of course, history is written by those who control it, right? So a lot of times we don't get to see this other than in some of these books and so forth. So let's look at a little bit of this and kind of go down this rabbit hole just a little bit. Now, a lot of people, there's kind of like those that are intuitive, that open their spiritual side and can see these things and can go into past lives and so forth. And then, of course, there are those that are very materialistic and rely completely on the five senses, very analytical, and I'm part that as well. Having been a Navy SEAL, you have to be able to do these things, read maps, and fire guns and take them apart and put them back together again really quick if you have to, and all that stuff is an analytical process, and we're taught this in school. We're not taught intuition in school. Intuition comes later in life, usually. Some people have some of it in the beginning stages if they're born into families that recognize this intuitive side, this spiritual connection, God energies and so forth. Then, of course, there's the dark side, which does that as well. They'll start to manipulate and control and their children. Like we've had many people on my show, Kathy O'Brien, who talks about this, where they're traumatized by dark forces, dark families, and so forth to activate certain aspects of their intuitions that's tied to the dark side. So there is this war, consciousness war that's going on, and those that don't understand intuition because they're really locked into the five senses, if they can't see it, touch it, smell it, taste it, it doesn't exist outside of that boundary, right? So that's understandable to me, but eventually, hopefully, those people that are kind of locked into that will eventually open themselves a little bit to the intuitive side, which is absolutely informing on massive levels. All right, so let me show you guys real quick some of this stuff because I want to go catch this movie. And it takes about an hour for me to get down there. It starts in about a little over an hour from where I'm at right now. So this is going to be kind of quick. So this is The Waking of a Warrior, Past Lives of the Navy SEAL Remembered. Of course, there's a little
Consider the possibility that beyond your earliest recollections lie myriads of memories of lives that existed before yours. These are your past lives, which may hold the solution to your problems and conundrums of today. The Awakening of a Warrior is my...
So your past lives may hold answers to your problems and conundrums of today. And this is what we're seeing right now, I believe, with the United States and the Iranian conflict, right? It's not really a war, but it is reaching very high levels of conflict. This is something, obviously, that's happened, throughout time, the Trojan War, like I'm talking about. So let's go a little bit deeper.
Jayco's journey through the reincarnation memories of many of his previous lives. From ancient Indian kings to a Persian hero and a Spartan warrior. Jayco's thrilling lifetimes are inspirational and mind-bending in scope. His autobiography has taken a half-century to write, but has been eons in the making. The Awakening of a Warrior.
So eons in the making. This book is available, obviously, in print and Audible. So you can get that on Amazon if you are ready to go down that rabbit hole, or if you want to expand your own consciousness into those realms. So there's definitely that's available for you. Now the Odyssey itself, the movie, is going to go into that lifetime. So I'm going to watch it and I'm going to go, yeah, they got that, because it always happens. I'm a remote viewer and I can look into the future and see things, but I can also look into the past and I can go into my past lifetimes and find out where the real truths were back in that time frame through my eyes, through my memories, and so forth. So a lot of our history is written incorrectly by far, right? And people interpret it different ways. People want to manipulate it to benefit them and so forth. So I mean, almost everything, even the Odyssey and the Iliad, have over time, because it was an oral history for hundreds and thousands of years, and then they started to write it. And when stuff starts getting written down, that's when manipulation comes in. So both of those books are somewhat manipulated. There is untruths in them, and of course, there's interpretation, like I'm going to see in this movie. And they have a black woman, that's the Helen Freud. No, no. So they do these things, they change things. Looks like there's some kind of robots or something in the movie. I think that maybe they were the gods that they talk about that were fighting. There were gods, godlike beings that were fighting with us in those battles. So, I can talk about all this stuff, but I'm going to go see this movie and report on it. But it is fascinating information to look at history and tell what is coming. And when I see this movie, I'm going to get some insights. I know that are going to come back. It happens every time I see this stuff. Every time I go to a place where I've been historically, and it's like, I'm like, whoa, I've been here before. And then, the memories start coming through. It's pretty wild. So the Odyssey official trailer, it's an epic movie, 2 hours and 52 minutes. So definitely want to allot some time to go see that movie. I highly recommend it because this is art. You might want to wait for my interpretation of it. But Idomeneus, the king of Crete, that went to the war. It talks about him quite a bit in the Iliad. Not so much the Odyssey, of course, because that's Odysseus's journey back. Now, like I said, there was a Nibiru incident where it basically shifted the Earth around a little bit, shook us up. So the stars that we used to navigate back home had us going all over the place because, and you can even see that in Egypt, there were these hourglasses that were set up, from the sun. So the sun would come in, you can tell what time it is. Some of them are backwards. Right. So there's been times in the past where the Earth has shifted and so forth. And there's talk about the Nile going a different direction, all kind of crazy stuff. So who knows, maybe it's interpretation of the time, interpretation, to the future. So some of these interpretations can, cause confusion. But Idomeneus, the king of Crete, who fought in the Trojan War, one of my lifetimes, the story of King Idomeneus of Crete does not end with the Trojan War. While the Iliad does not reveal his fate, later sources discuss, how he was in Italy for a while. So we were confused about, how to get back home. And he made a deal with Poseidon, the god Poseidon, that if he could get home, then, he would sacrifice the first that he saw. And this is where, things get funny in history. It's like the first person that he saw was his son, so he sacrificed his son. That's bullshit, right? So I can tell you that's bullshit. And he did make it back home, and he did a lot of great things for Crete going forward. So, that's some of the stuff that, you're going to encounter in history. I look at that and I'm like, bullshit, right? All right. So no, that didn't happen that way. We eventually figured out because if you look and you ask, because some of you are like, well, I'll ask the AI and it'll tell me if you're right. So yeah, AI is going to tell you has been inputted into it. All right. And of course that, like I said, is all interpretation from a lot of different people that have something that they want to gain from lying, all right, or they are just misinformed, through history, things get mixed up. So I believe that there was, they talk about it in the book, how rivers overflowed their banks and went the other way and, all kinds of crazy stuff. So what would cause something like that? And that would be a nearby a celestial, planet, the 12th planet that came by and caused this. And it's been talked about, throughout history. But most people are like, oh, that's all bullshit, right? It's not bullshit. I have memories of it. So it is actually something that has occurred. Now, so let me show you a little bit. I talk about this quite a bit in The Awakening of a Warrior, and there's the second edition that you can get on Amazon as well. So the first edition, which is an audio through Amazon, and then there's a second edition that has all the pictures. That's the one I recommend if you're going to get the print. But you can get the Audible if you, like me, you don't have time to read books anymore. But the pictures are great for the second edition. Incredible pictures. And that's Brad Olson that, helped me put all that together. So he did a fantastic job on that. So Thucydides on history. So this is another one of my lifetimes. And let me show you when I talk about, how in the books, how you will carry forward a lot of similarities, throughout time. All right. So this is a picture, if it will come up, of Thucydides. All right. So I don't know about you guys, but that's me staring back at myself with a beard. All right. So that's some of the things you will bring forward, different aspects of yourself throughout time. And I can see multiple times where I brought forward, my similarities. All right. So let me give you another one. Now Thucydides he wrote a book, and basically, and this is where I'm talking about the time, and how I can go back in time and know certain things. So this book actually is complete history of the Peloponnesian War. So it's kind of cool that I can go back and check out some of the books that I wrote in the past, because I've written books all the way back to Egyptian times. And many times I'm an author, king, a warrior, sailor, and admirals and generals and all kind of crazy stuff. So I have all throughout each major culture that's risen: so Egyptian times, Greek, Roman, European, and now here in America. So each one of these time frames, I incarnate into and try and help humanity progress. So Thucydides, and he talks about this Thucydides trap, and I'll probably talk a little bit more about this and a little bit further. So he was talking about time frame of Athens and Sparta. So I was a Athenian in past lives, and I was Spartan in past lives, and I've talked about some of this in the book, The Awakening of a Warrior. So I'm back and forth. You're back and forth in these lifetimes. You're learning, you're helping, you're growing. So you're helping societies advance. So some of these, time frames are, full of, because today is, and I think we is the United States, Athens. And I think in many ways we are. Now, will we face a similar fate of Athens and the Peloponnesian War? And that's a concept that I will probably address in a future show. So it is looking, unfortunately, that way, because Athens did not fare well in the Peloponnesian War, because they went against Sparta, who's the most badass fighters ever. And so that's one of the things that I will look at. So history of the Peloponnesian War. This is 431, 404 BC. And so we're looking at, about 2,500 years ago. And you're like, you have memories back then? Yeah, I go tap into them. It's not like they're current memories, right? But I can meditate and go into those time frames and pull information out. Yeah, because there's some people that are looking at, and I've seen them currently, that are looking at aspects of that book, and they don't understand. I clearly, perfectly understand. So I can discuss that. I could give a lecture on that book, right, from that point of view, and just channel that information through. That's the kind of stuff that is incredible about tapping into your past lives and being a remote viewer and so forth, and intuitive. Now, here's some of the things that Thucydides said. Said, courage and vision, the bravest are surely those who have the clearest vision of what is before them, glory and danger alike. So you guys know that I've talked about this in the Intuitive Warrior, lessons from a Navy SEAL on how to tap into your own hidden potential. We all have this, but you have to learn to overcome fear. And if fear and love are the opposite, if you go to love when you're feeling fear, you will reach incredible levels of control, self-control, and also abilities. capabilities, right? So because I push my five senses, well, a lot of you are like, fine, if it doesn't exist in the five senses, I don't believe it. But when you push your five senses, like I did as a Navy SEAL, because I wanted to hear things to make sure that I kept me and my team safe. I wanted to see things. I wanted to all these things. So all of us that are, long-term Navy SEALs and Special Forces and so forth, we've all experienced these sixth sense type of capabilities. And you talk to anybody that was in for a while. You can't talk to a guy that's in 4 years, 4, 6, 8 years, whatever. You go through a little period where you get to that 10-year mark and you're like, should I stay or should I go now? And I stayed, and that's where you really start to gather some really incredible capabilities. All right, so love of power, operating through greed and through personal ambition was the cause of all evils. War is an evil thing, but to submit to the dictation of other states is worse. So this is where we're at right now, I believe, with the Iranian conflict, to submit to, so everybody could, a lot of people are in this ballpark where your war is evil regardless. No. More evil is allowing other countries, states, Nazis, whatever, they're still here in the United States, take control and overpower us, right? That is more evil. So that's where I stand, all right? And that's where I was 2,500 years ago, all right? I haven't changed. That is a truth that, stands the test of time. All right, so do they, change or manipulate history? Yeah, all right. RFK Jr., all right, or JFK Jr., I'm sorry. JFK Jr., RFK Jr. is still here, but JFK Jr. is somewhere, all right, in my opinion. All right, so here is a little statement here. Tina Zimmerman says, don't you find it interesting? Some Navy diver that recovered JFK Jr.'s body is now in charge of the U.S. Navy, all right? The Honorable Hung Kao, right? He's actually a good guy. Acting Secretary of the Navy. He is an excellent person in that position. Now, people can be deceived, all right? So you're like, well, how could he be deceived? JFK's body, drowned and he recovered it. He was part of the team that recovered it. Now, I've talked to another guy where I've been saying for years now that JFK Jr. is still alive, because when that plane went down, I'm like, that's bullshit. That was a setup, and he's still alive. I knew it right then, intuitively, remote viewed it, everything. So I say that he's still alive. Now, there are people that looked at that body, recovered that body, and his wife's and his sister-in-law, I think, and they will swear that that was them. But if you're in the water for a period of time, you get swollen, all right? Your body starts to swell, so it's very hard to absolutely know, because somebody else could have been there. But of course, they, who would do something like that? Now, as a demolition expert, I know that there's a device that you can put on demolition where it reaches a certain altitude and it causes the explosion. So you can kick off the explosion device by an altitude control device. So it reaches a certain altitude and then boom. So I believe they knew that. They left that device on there. They loaded some bodies in there, and they remote control that plane up. It blew up, and Navy divers recovered those bodies that they stuck in there, and they very rapidly cremated those bodies. Right. All right. So that's my view. And like I said, there are guys that I trust, and they said that they knew the guys that they're Navy divers. I was a Navy diver when I first came in. So these are outstanding individuals, high integrity, just like Navy SEALs. Well, not all the Navy SEALs, but most Navy SEALs. So, some people are, bamboozled, guys, and throughout history. Now, Let me give you an example. During World War II, the Brits, MI6, basically put together a complete trickery for Hitler. They had this one guy. It was they took his body and they created this whole facade of a general. He was actually they had a torpedo. They filled the torpedo tube and shot him out. And he came ashore in Spain, and a Spanish fisherman found the body, and he had a suitcase that was handcuffed to his wrist. Perfect, right? So within the suitcase, they found basically everything about his life. And then, of course, probably some enterprising spies would go into the system and look for this guy. Well, they put in the system this guy as well. He had a whole life. He had a girlfriend or a wife or whatever, and just all these different things. And he was highly decorated. He had stories. He had notes to his mistress or his wife or his girlfriend, whatever. And so they fell for it. So they thought the landing was going to happen in a different place, and the Allies landed someplace different and got the upper hand and did really well. All right. So this is obviously something that has been done throughout history. And to say that there's no way they could have put bodies in there to, be, JFK Jr. We know that Hillary Clinton's team, the deep state, basically had JFK Jr. and not JFK Jr. in New York. So she's from Arkansas. Remember Bill Clinton? Yeah. So she's from Arkansas, and somehow she gets over to New York and becomes a New York senator. Yeah. So there's a lot of stuff, guys, that is manipulated throughout history and so forth. Now, let me give you one more, and then I got a jet to go see this movie. Now, I've talked about this in several occasions. Civil War, Louis Armistead, and he was killed at the battle. At the Battle of Gettysburg. All right, so same thing, same look, same everything. Now, I could do this with lifetime after lifetime after lifetime. Same type of mentality, same type of problems that I have in this life, on and on and on. So this is Louis Armistead, looks like me. Now, this was the first physical person that I found, and it took me a while. And my wife's downstairs saying, I found it. And she did, because I was struggling. I was looking, because I was told I was a general and from a psychic, couple different psychics. And I was like, well, which one, which side? And so I started to visualize. I started to remote view myself going up the hill. And I had a sword, so that would be a general. And I had boots. So boots are basically for people that are on horseback. So that's also a senior officer as well, or cavalry, right? So senior officer with a sword, walking up the hill. I led the charge, which I have done. I did the same thing in Troy. I led charges and turned the tide of battle. This one, not so much, because if you've heard some of my stories, I've said that there was time wars that went on, and they went in and they changed the outcome of this battle, right? It was supposed to be won by the Confederates, and they were going to march into DC and stop the war. So it was changed. They knew exactly, where the Confederates were going to strike, and they had never been able to do that before, right? So they've been bamboozled and fooled by the Confederates, because they're very, very good fighters. And in this war, they basically destroyed the Confederate Army, all right? So here you go. There's me in a past lifetime. Now, where was he wounded? So he was wounded in this battle. He was wounded. Now, many of you know that I've had my left kneecap shattered. He was wounded just below the knee, and he was wounded just above the upper arm, which in this life, my right shoulder has been a problem for me. Wow. He was a slender guy. He was a fancy guy. He liked to wear clothes. He was a fancy dresser. Yes, that's me. And also, he can eat a meal. He can eat more than everybody else and still stay slender. That's me. So all these different things. He's made quotes that are similar to me. All these different things. Unbelievable, right? So these are some of the things that I want you guys to be aware of. We're in historical times, and history does not have to completely repeat itself again. And I believe it's not going to, but we have to be more aware of how to change our future for the better, right? So tapping into history, looking at history, and it doesn't have to be ancient history, like I'm talking about all the way up to now, right? So I can give you lifetime after lifetime, all the way up until current time frames, right? So it's one of those gifts that we have and that we can tap into, but not if you're a very locked into analytical five senses, nothing else outside the five senses, right? You have to be able to expand yourself, and you have to be able to tap into God. So I've tapped into God, and that's how I'm able to remote view and have these intuitions and so forth. All right. Yeah, that mustache, right? So, throughout time, I guess. Yeah, it's there. I don't know why I keep growing it, but it's like, come on, can I change my face a little bit? Yeah, I can shave it off. I've done it. I've had clean, but yeah. So yeah, that's right, Janet. Be respectful to Michael, because a lot of people are not going to be, because they have their own personal values, their own personal views, and they're not flexible. They're very rigid. It's very, very unfortunate, but that's why we're in the situation. That's why we still have war, guys, because we have a lot of people that are inflexible. They've had many lifetimes of being bad guys. All right. And I and many of you have had many lifetimes of being good guys, good people, good gals. And we're trying to turn everything around for the better. So this is one of the ways that we can do that. You don't have to be involved in past lifetimes to look at history as a historian and figure out this is what's going to come. These are some of the things that we're going to see going into the future. All right. All right, guys. That's all I got for now. And Deborah Greenwood, are you laughing at me, or is that funny face? Because if you're laughing at me, you're going to go bye-bye. All right. Go ahead and answer up to that. All right. So because you can have different comments that you don't understand or don't follow that, but if you come and be negative, yeah, that's not going to happen. All right. We can have a discussion, but we're not going to have attacks. All right. So Deborah, what is that? 1, 2, 3, bye. All right. So that's kind of where we are, guys. We have a lot of people that are quite negative, and if you're going to be negative, you're not going to be part of history going forward in a positive way. All right, guys. Lots of love. Stay in the love vibration. I'm going to go see this movie. Probably tomorrow. I'll give some more insight on this, because I have a lot of stuff on this. A lot of stuff. Right.
Judy note: because of Trump and the global military alliance, the Satan-worshipping deep state elites were finally collapsing, while sovereigns of the world were reaching out to grasp constitutional law under God, governed by we the people. From Tier 4B, Thursday, July 16, 2026. The dollar is backed by gold, the IRS is gone, and the Federal Reserve has been absorbed into the new U.S. Treasury. Big Pharma is being held accountable with massive legal consequences incoming. The oil monopoly is being dismantled using light and sound frequencies, not pills. Peace is winning. The Great Awakening is here. What's next?
Within the next 48 hours, 7 trumpets will sound over every phone, tablet, and device on Earth to introduce 7 emergency broadcast system messages in 22 languages that will explain what was going on. Temporary martial law was now live with the White Hat Global Military Alliance in full control. 10 days of communication darkness was incoming, where the internet would be down, banks offline. But fear not, for the military Starlink apps were already deployed for secure emergency contact. Be prepared with food, cash, and essentials on hand. The military will supply food and essentials where needed. Over 50,000 deep state traders were already loaded onto convoys headed straight to Gitmo, or like facility, to face military tribunals. Why? It all goes back to the deep state globalist Satan-worshipping Rothschilds who owned the central banks around the globe and made their fortune for the cabal from funding both sides of wars that they organized. The Rothschilds were behind both world wars, had plans for World War III, and organized and promoted Israel for the sole purpose of promoting ongoing wars. The Rothschilds had created the war in Ukraine, but it was never about protecting the Ukraine people. Their mission was to have global control over the people through an engineered World War III that was funded, of course, by U.S. taxpayer monies. At first in Ukraine, they planned to use UK troops to force Russia into a direct conflict and use the resulting chaos to crush national sovereignty, paving the way for global dictatorship. Russia had another side to the story. Evidence that was used in Biden's military tribunal that ended with his conviction and death at Gitmo in Jan. 2021, just prior to Biden's fake inauguration. By April 29, 2025, the globalist plan had collapsed. They wanted to ignite World War III by sending UK troops to Ukraine, but the UK quickly abandoned troop deployment after Russia threatened them with nuclear retaliation. This sudden U-turn shattered the globalist coalition of NATO, Germany, the US Inc., and UK. Peacekeeping was exposed as human shield warfare, a trap meant to justify a world war. Now NATO's Plan B has been to hide troops in western Ukraine, far from the fire, while drone swarms, space-based weapons, and experimental assets activate under secret ops like Project BLACKSDAR and Project Asgard. The globalists' financial war plans have also accelerated. Digital currency, food shortages, and energy collapses, tools to cage the population. Recently on the Glenn Beck channel, a Scottish journalist, Alex Newman, warned, the unelected globalists, including Bill Gates, the UN, and the WEF, are building a gigantic digital gulag for all of humanity. They are using biometric digital ID, CBDCs, and vaccine passport infrastructure to build a control system that will be able to survey and monitor everything we do on an unprecedented scale, and also manipulate what we do. This is a mechanism to control humanity that, in my opinion, has no precedent in human history. Long ago, Satan worshipper Bill Gates talked about this same plan to establish a private corporate world government that would control every human on Earth through their cell phones, with an AI surveillance system that would enforce a social credit score. For 15 years, pedophile Bill Gates worked with the government of Communist China, BlackRock, and the United Nations via the World Economic Forum to roll out a central bank digital currency system that would control health care, education, all commerce and travel. Larry Fink, Bill Gates, UN Secretary General Guterres, Klaus Schwab, and others have said that this system would be used to force 100% compliance and control on all human behavior. This was the mark of the beast. Of course, all globalists' plans required support of the U.S. Congress to fund their corrupt agenda. With Trump and the global alliance's global currency reset now in effect, taking away the Rothschild and all globalists' money supply, the deep state globalist hopes to start a World War III migrated to start that World War III in Iran. The Muslims had long chanted death to America. So, Trump's thinking to not go to war with Iran, but to cut off their money supply by controlling the Strait of Hormuz, appeared to be a genius chess play and the right thing to do. We are reinstating the Iranian blockade, so named because it is only stopping Iran's ships or customers from entering or leaving. The USA will be, from this point forward, known as the guardian of the Hormuz Strait, when the Rothschilds are shut down in Iran. During his last days, Hitler established the Fourth Reich in the United States via Operation Paperclip from 1946-1959. Paperclip enabled the Nazis to infiltrate its government and intelligence agencies in the highest levels of the U.S. Inc. government. Hitler had 5 children who were indistinguishable from each other, because they were all androgynous, bore characteristics of both male and female. Genders: 1. Angela Merkel, Germany's longest-serving chancellor. 2. Theresa May, Prime Minister of the United Kingdom. 3. Dalia Grybauskaite, President of Lithuania. 4. Nancy Pelosi, U.S. Democrat and Speaker of the House. 5. Hitler's son Adolf's mother was Clara Hitler, a prostitute, undercover CIA agent.
Well, we thought we knew, but didn't really know. And now we're supposed to know, but don't have a clue. Thursday, July 16, 2026, U.S. intelligence claims Iran war a pretext for obtaining alien technology. A quantum space Q-phone will be provided free of charge to all people on Earth. It will be used for internet connectivity, texting and calling, banking, voting, and much more. It will be one of the main credit tools and most urgent expenditures in the daily life for retail consumption and for domestic and international commercial business. MS-13 Minority Leader Chuck Schumer says the quiet part out loud. The only way we're going to overthrow the constitutional republic of the United States is by granting citizenship to tens of millions of illegal aliens we deliberately imported. By the way, the number's not 11 million. When just under the Biden-Harris terrorist administration, they trafficked between 12 and 15 million in just 4 years alone. Wednesday, July 15th. Our voting machines and elections are compromised. The 2020 election was stolen, and members of our own government and intelligence community, including the CIA, knew all about it and did nothing. Control was always the objective. The same playbook, voting machines and regime change, operations were used around the world for years, while they lied right to your face. 2020 election voter fraud. December 28, 2020, Biden charged with stealing Ukraine billions, treason for communist interference in 2020 election. December 12, 2020, Chinese communists, Democrats rig 2020 election for Biden as U.S. faces martial law. December 1st, 2020, Obama, Biden, CIA Director Gina Haspel evidently arrested for espionage, voter fraud. November 27, 2020, Trump's 2020 election sting operation ends in mass arrests. And November 17, 2020, software switched Trump votes to Biden tied to Pelosi, Soros, Antifa, Chinese Communist Party. Mass arrests. 847. Pentagon officials arrested, 234 generals detained, 678 military operatives removed. The deep state purge has begun. This is not a drill.
July 7, 2026. Pentagon sources confirm coordinated mass arrests across all military branches. This is not a routine operation. This is a systematic purge of deep state military operatives. The classified operation. Military intelligence has been documenting deep state operatives within the Pentagon for 18 months. On July 7, 2026, they activated Operation Military Cleanse. The numbers are staggering. 847 Pentagon officials detained 234 generals and high-ranking officers, arrested 678 military operatives removed from active duty 4,000 troops deployed across 19 states for domestic operations. 50 states coordinated simultaneously the charges. Treason against the United States coordination, with foreign adversaries conspiracy to overthrow the government crimes against humanity violation of Military Code of Justice. The classified intel. Military intelligence intercepted communications proving. Operation Military Cleanse, protocol removing deep state from Pentagon Domestic Deployment Protocol. 4,000 troops deployed across 19 states, tribunal authority granted military tribunals, authorized for all detainees chain of command restored loyal officers now in control the double strike. Strike 1. Pentagon PURGED. Deep state military operatives removed Strike 2. Domestic OPERATIONS. 4,000 troops deployed for law enforcement. The panic. The deep state is in absolute panic. They thought the military was compromised. They were wrong. Trump has control of the military. Military intelligence has control of the Pentagon. The purge is accelerating. By July 20, all 847 detainees will be in military custody. By July 25, military tribunals will begin. By August 1, the first convictions will be announced. The truth, this is not a military coup. This is a military restoration. The Pentagon was infiltrated by deep state operatives for decades. Now it is being cleansed. The chain of command is being restored. Loyal officers are taking control. The military is not the problem. The military is the solution. Code: Military Cleanse Active / Pentagon PURGED TRIBUNALS authorized. The deep state thought they could hide in the Pentagon. They cannot. Military intelligence knows every operative, every communication, every crime. The purge is inevitable. The tribunals are coming. The justice is certain. Global currency reset. Judy note. On Thursday, 16 July 2026, several different sources indicated that the Admirals Group has begun their exchanges. Tier 3 Native Americans have received 80% of their monies and bond holders were scheduled to begin their exchanges on Friday, 17 July 2026. Us, the Internet Group, were next and expected to be notified to set exchange redemption appointments at least by Moan. 20 July 2026. Thursday, 16 July 2026. Bruce, the big call. A source said Tier 4B, us, the Internet Group, could be notified over the weekend and start exchanges. Moan. 20 July. New currency rates should be on the Forex on Sun evening. 19 July.
On Friday, July 10th, Juan Savin posted the below schedule, revealing the final stages of the QFS activation and global currency reset. That is the entire alliance on high alert. Some dates did not happen as posted, so the information has been put in order of events and what we know as of Wednesday, July 15th, 2026. Wednesday, July 15th, 2026, quantum override as the legacy SWIFT died. Federal Reserve neutralized and IRS ended by Trump executive order. Debt Jubilee activated in 209 countries. Tier 4B liquidity distribution started with gold-backed RV, igniting massive wealth transfer to patriots. Deep state financial control shatters. Thursday or Friday, 16th, 17th of July, 2026. Tier 4B and ZIM holders flood redemption centers for exchange appointments at the highest rates. QFS wallets go live for verified users. Cabal encryption keys seized. Children rescued from remaining DUMBs as adrenochrome networks collapse with military raids. July 2026, military tribunals expand with thousands of sealed indictments unsealed.
16 July 2026, the flow has ACCLRATD. Christian B. Wallace bond funds are now moving so fast through paymaster channels that even insiders are stunned by the volume. What was delayed for months is now arriving in waves. This is why private appointments are being scheduled quietly and continuously. This phase is not about waiting. It's about readiness. A few things are now absolutely clear. There will be no straight cash payouts. You will be in full control of your funds. Multiple accounts and structures can be created immediately. Certified advisors will be present to assist with asset management, project selection, and long-term planning. This is structured wealth, not a handout. Prepare your plans and projects now. Those who arrive without direction will be guided, but those who arrive prepared will move faster. Project funding pathways are already mapped inside the system. Security remains tight. Yes, there are still forces that do not want this transition to complete, but all channels confirm the process is protected and stable. You are allowed to bring support to your appointment. Financial advisors, bank contacts, you have already spoken with friends or trusted individuals. Anyone you choose to assist you is permitted. ZIM redemption. As of now, the structure is as follows. No project. 15 million payout regardless of the amount held with approved projects. First 2 100T bond notes, redeem at 1-to-1 after that. 25 million per 100T, up to a maximum of 30 bond notes. Further negotiation requires a return appointment. J. Attention. The new valuation matrices are initializing. The quantum financial system has officially taken over the baseline clearing operations for global currency pairs. The banks are being systematically integrated into a gold-backed digital ledger where their access to personal wealth control is exactly zero. My high-level military intelligence sources have just updated the transition clock, and the next sequence activates without further warning. Here is the raw telemetry and the verified schedule for the Tier 4B Internet Group right now. The dinar revaluation mandate the specific orders issued via the Alliance High Command and aligned with the Trump Phase 2 economic transition have been delivered to the central banking clearing rooms. The live treasury screens are displaying internal rate adjustments for the Iraqi dinar that reflect true resource-backed sovereignty. The old fiat distortion is over. The QFS operational window, the international banking networks have officially shifted to the ISO 20022 communication standard. The unbacked fiat monopolies print-on-demand era is finished. The asset-backed digital currencies, stabilized directly by verified gold, silver, and platinum reserves, are live on the back-end screens. The legacy SWIFT routes have been entirely bypassed. The Tier 4B release schedule, the notifications protocols are active. The safe links are locked into the quantum encryption relays, guarded under complete military-civilian security frameworks. The baseline caps for redemption slots are updating on the interface. Holdings without humanitarian documentation are locked at a designated standard baseline allocation. Holdings with finalized humanitarian structures are transitioning to a one-asset backing on primary validation notes. Prepare your multi-account diversification layouts immediately. Bombshell, Trump's second declaration of independence, and the deep state is crashing. Telegram President Trump delivers a second declaration of independence, not with parchment but with raw power. 1776 has officially returned, the chains are broken, and the corrupt deep state system is crashing down right now. The people are taking back control of the republic. Read the exclusive update before it's censored. Update 07052026. With utmost respect for America's founders, the American people issue this second declaration of independence from the foreign cabal that seized the nation. Foreign investors gained control through the 1871 creation of a corporate government in Washington, D.C. They financed recovery after the Civil War, but became masters serving their interests over the people. In 1913, they created the Anti-Defamation League, imposed direct taxation, altered the Senate, and established the Federal Reserve. The United States Corporation formed in 1925 with hidden owners from London and the Vatican, turning states into franchises with leaders serving U.S. CORP first. In 1933, bankruptcy transferred America and its people to U.S. CORP. Gold was confiscated for fiat dollars. Social Security turned citizens into taxable corporate fictions. Admiralty law took hold. The United Nations pushed the New World Order via Agenda 21 and 30 to destroy sovereignty, while operatives undermine America. The deep state and shadow government operatives, guilty of treason, divide the people, censor truth, promote illegal immigration, and disarm patriots through false flags and profiling to hide the greatest heist. This second declaration distinguishes the true America from the illegal foreign-owned United States corporation that has warred against the Republic for over 150 years. It repudiates the satanic New World Order to end liberty. The American people claim ownership of their land, labor, future, and children taken without consent. A bloodless solution is demanded. Dissolve U.S. CORP. Return all assets including gold and silver, redirect taxes to America, and withdraw deep state influence so society thrives. Perpetrators may keep their wealth and positions. As in 1776, this declaration delivers immediate independence. With firm reliance on divine providence, the people pledge their lives, fortunes, and sacred honor to restore the constitutional republic. The task force presents this to Congress, the President, state legislatures, and governors. pay attention in the near future. It's very close. Project Odin equals EBS, Christian B. When we know that something powerful will take down the Mossad media satellite. This will cause a worldwide communications blackout, transitioning us to a quantum system. This is called Project Odin. In essence, it provides a reason to activate military EBS. Starlink is up and seemingly ready for the Army to activate the worldwide emergency broadcast system. The Odin project, as mentioned by Ron Code Monkeys, is a powerful cross-platform anti-cheat engine and part of Quantum Starlink. These new quantum systems are protected by secret space programs beyond the reach of the cabal. Q tells us that Mossad media assets will be eliminated. Has repeatedly stated that there will be a big biblical scenario where they present it as World War III, but in reality, they will activate the military worldwide and then start bombing all this satanic place. This will release the NESARA funds, and then we the people will begin to rebuild. This event is truly biblical. Q showed us some of the larger satanic Illuminati sites in the world. Vatican *, Buckingham Palace, White House X2, USA, Germany, 3GD in China, CERN at Swiss-French border possibly. Big Pharma in Wuhan equals Israel *, Israel Khazarians control CCP, communication, etc. 34 satanic buildings and dams will fall. Many events will also take place such as Rods of God DW, directed energy weapons. Used on Satan-targeted sites worldwide. Planes and trains will be grounded. Lights energy will be turned off briefly as they switch to Tesla-free energy. Bitcoin server data center will be hacked and shut down forever. 99.5% of cryptocurrencies will disappear, including Chinese coins. ISO 20022 coins backed by precious metals will be available. WW3 scare event will take place. Nuclear siren * water. Events. The stock market collapsed. Global martial arts rules. Castle Rock background. Julian Assange quantum system. FISA military trial. 10 countries will run EBS for worldwide coverage. Tremendous truths revealed. Trump and Kennedy inaugurations. Israeli Mossad has controlled world media out of America. Project Odin is part of Quantum Starlink. The new quantum system will be protected by secret space programs beyond the reach of the cabal. * Satanic media assets will be removed. Israeli intelligence was forced to withdraw. * Media assets will be removed after communications are disabled. John F. Kennedy Jr. will appear. To convert to Jasara / greatness, they must play this fake World War III scenario to sound the sirens in each national military command center. This is to justify to the entire planet many things that have taken place. The Jasara military law was implemented, which included secret military tribunals, confessions, executions, etc. As usual, all armies will be there to help build new things. We have achieved freedom, saved our children, and freed the world of corrupt government. Mel Gibson prepares to present evidence to Congress targeting Newsom, Pelosi, Harris, and more. One of the most explosive political and Hollywood stories of 2026 is rapidly gaining attention, as reports claim actor and director Mel Gibson is preparing to bring alleged evidence before Congress involving prominent California political figures and influential names connected to Hollywood. According to sources familiar with the claims, Gibson says he possesses a collection of material that includes visitation records, dates, locations, photographs, and video evidence, which he believes could expose a long-rumored network operating within powerful political and entertainment circles. Among the names reportedly expected to be referenced are Gavin Newsom, Nancy Pelosi, Kamala Harris, Adam Schiff, Eric Swalwell, Xavier Becerra, Katie Porter, and other California officials. At this stage, none of the allegations have been proven in court, and no official charges related to Gibson's reported claims have been announced. Nevertheless, the story has intensified following reports that Gibson has discussed the matter with President Donald Trump and is preparing to testify before Congress. For years, Gibson has openly criticized corruption inside Hollywood and what he describes as entrenched elite power structures within the entertainment industry. Supporters now believe he is positioning himself as one of Hollywood's most prominent whistleblowers, arguing that the material he reportedly possesses could trigger major political and criminal investigations if formally presented before lawmakers. The possibility of congressional testimony has fueled intense speculation across political media, conservative circles, and Hollywood itself. Many supporters argue that powerful elites have operated for years without accountability and believe the American public deserves complete transparency if evidence supporting these claims exists. Reports circulating around the story also suggest President Trump has welcomed Gibson's willingness to come forward. For many within the America First movement, the situation is being framed as another chapter in the broader effort to expose corruption, challenge political double standards, and confront what they view as entrenched establishment protection networks. The controversy has expanded beyond Hollywood, evolving into a broader national debate over institutional trust, political influence, elite accountability, and whether powerful public figures are held to the same standards as ordinary citizens. Critics continue urging caution, emphasizing that the allegations remain unverified until supported by publicly available evidence and legal proceedings. Regardless of what ultimately emerges, Mel Gibson has become the central figure in one of the most closely watched Hollywood political controversies of the year. Supporters believe the story could mark a major turning point in the debate over elite accountability, while critics insist any conclusions must wait until evidence is presented. Thursday, 16 July 2026, former FBI agent John D'Souza tried to warn us about the real identity of Barack Obama. In 2008, something unbelievable happened for us in the FBI. We were getting lots of rumors about this high-level asset that worked with several intelligence agencies at the same time. He worked for the Saudi Intelligence Service. He worked for the CIA, and he was being developed as a political asset in Chicago, Illinois. It's this individual whose name I don't like to say, who became President of the United States. One of his code names is Renegade. His real name was Barry Soetoro. His mission was to destroy the United States from within. Trump and Israel, I need you all to pay attention to this one thing, because it parallels how people see Donald Trump and Israel. When Ali al-Zaidi became Iraq's new PM in May, a lot of people looked at him as another Iranian-controlled asset with no mind or choice of his own. He would carry out anything Iran would have demanded of him. And they wrote him off and did not look at him as a figure that wouldn't bring any meaningful change to Iraq. Then all of a sudden people turned on their news and seen armed forces storming the properties of Iranian loyalists. There was no announcement. There was no warning. There was no time for media figures to spin this to confuse the citizens. And all of this is happening while U.S. military assist in this roundup of corrupt figures who sold out their country. This is what POTUS wanted before the meeting with the PM in mid-July. And you are going to have people out there still assuming that POTUS is working against the people, that he does not have America in his best interests. Many of their talking points is predicated upon the gray area concerning Israel, where you can't quite make out who's playing for what team unless you are really researching and studying. And we have podcasts, VOs, and influencers muddying the waters. They are making it hard for people to know the difference. This is why Anna Paulina Luna put out that post about upcoming disclosures regarding who is behind these influential online personalities that seem to have been compromised by foreign forces that have ties to Mossad and other factions. People who have misled you will not make it out of 2026 unscathed. Many of them are nervous. They were never MAGA, and you will find out. Some of you already have a suspicion as to who will be coming out with some sketchy ties. What will people do when POTUS starts to turn the tables and uproot all the rhetoric about who he is loyal to? Especially when he is directly behind the purging of corruption happening right now in Iraq. You would think he would be trying to remove Ali al-Zaidi himself since he Q phone, or called Pi phone. Trump QFS Center ISO 2022 on Telegram. The quantum space Q phone will be provided free of charge to all people on Earth. It will be used for internet connectivity, texting and calling, banking, voting, and much more. It will be one of the main credit tools and most urgent expenditures in the daily life for retail consumption and for domestic and international commercial business, and is a subserver to abuse and control the quantum system with stellar Starlink. The Q phone is developed and manufactured in Germany and UK with final software updates in the US. This is a 3D phone, and it is the highest quality. It's a $500 billion manufacturing business in 3 countries. And some other countries like Japan. They are assembled in different warehouses throughout the world. It features a 3D interactive holographic display. QFS will establish a private internet network on triple code and maybe an 8G network. Breaking. UK PULLS troops from Ukraine globalist war scheme IMPLOD on April 29, 2025. The UK abandoned its planned troop deployment to Ukraine, sending shockwaves through NATO. This wasn't a diplomatic gesture. It was a retreat in the face of nuclear retaliation threats from Russia. The globalist war machine blinked. Their plan to ignite World War III has collapsed in plain sight. The so-called defense of Ukraine was always a smokescreen. Behind closed doors, a cabal of NATO insiders, led by Macron's collapsing regime and British deep state operatives, plotted to send 30,000 soldiers into Ukraine. Not to protect, but to provoke. Their real goal. Force Russia into direct conflict and use the chaos to crush national sovereignty, paving the way for global dictatorship. But the mask fell. British intel sources confirmed deploying troops would guarantee nuclear strikes not just on the front lines but on command centers deep in Europe. Russia's warnings were clear. The UK panicked. Macron begged for escalation. Britain flinched. This sudden U-turn shattered the coalition. Peacekeeping was exposed as human shield warfare, a trap meant to justify a world war. Now NATO's Plan B is hiding troops in western Ukraine, far from the fire, while drone swarms, space-based weapons, and experimental assets activate under secret ops like Project BLACKSDAR and Project Asgard. Make no mistake, this is not de-escalation, it's repositioning. The elites are scrambling to salvage control. Financial war plans have been accelerated, digital currency, food shortages, and energy collapses tools to cage the population before the next spark. The betrayal is total. Britain betrayed Ukraine. NATO betrayed its own citizens. The Ukrainian people were never the mission. They were pawns. The mission was global control through engineered war. The globalists failed this time, but they're not done. They're regrouping, and unless people wake up now, their next move will make this one look like a rehearsal.
Lots going on right now, and of course, we were all very interested to hear what Trump had to say yesterday. And it's what I told you he was going to say. He was talking about election interference. I've known about election interference for 5 or 6 years now. I've been watching it happen. We've been able to see what happens live with the quantum voting system. But it had to be brought out in such a way at such a time so that people were not dismissive. They understood it. And that's what's happening. Because if you look back at the Epstein files, they were all dumped. 6 million pages, way too much to even look at. So this is why it has to be dripped out slowly. It's the same with the election interference. Trump has put it out there that China was involved, and they were. But that's just one layer. And when you peel away those layers, you'll find out there's a number of people involved in this from America, from the United States. None more so than people like Barack Obama and the Clintons. And if you've got some sort of a memory, you will remember where they pointed the finger at Donald Trump saying, Russian interference, Russian interference. The fact is that they were involved in Chinese interference. They were involved. They were actually committing treason. Donald Trump was never rigging elections with Russian interference. They were doing it, and they were saying he was doing it. But the evidence is now there, and the evidence is there for you to see. And as we peel back the layers of this fraud that's gone on, not for a couple of years, but for a very long time, and not just in the United States, in the UK, in Europe, in Australia, in Canada, in Mexico, in many other countries. The whole system is corrupt and it's being dismantled. And as we get through this, when we look back, you'll be amazed at how quickly this was all dismantled. While you're living through it, it feels like it's going slowly. I'll tell you, when you look back at this, you'll just go, wow. They managed to dismantle all of that in that period of time and change the whole system. That's what's happening. Morning, Drew.
Good morning, Charlie. Good morning, everyone. Well, today, the UK's grooming gangs inquiry is expanding into Oldham, Bradford, Keighley and London, with survivors now being invited to come forward. Meanwhile, Britain prepares for a new Prime Minister as Andy Burnham takes control of Labour, and police continue a major terrorism investigation after 12 arrests linked to an alleged threat against a large Islamic gathering. Big chances, big questions, and plenty more to come.
But there was also people involved that were in positions of authority. There was judges, there was police, there was members of parliament that were involved. And the first batch got arrested. The first batch of members of parliament in those areas got arrested. The first batch of police got arrested. The first batch of judges got arrested. Oh, you didn't see anything on mainstream media? Well, I'm telling you they did. The fact that mainstream media is not putting it out there suggests one thing. They were involved too. Not just in covering it up. Because when I first heard about this, oh, they've been covering it up. It turns out, yes, they were covering it up because they were actually involved in this.
The real reason they killed SADDAM, JFK, the U.S. launched its shock and awe attack on Baghdad in 2003 despite worldwide protests against it. Countless undocumented stories of Saddam's atrocities and lies about his WMDs were used as justification. Follow the money. What was the financial benefit for the illegal invasion? Saddam Hussein decided to sell Iraqi oil using the EU currency, not the US dollar, which would have weakened the US dollar and undermined the US economy. That is the unpublicized reason for the brutal elimination of Saddam Hussein. The theft and control of Iraqi oil also played a large role.
In Secrets this morning, we have Paul Preston from Agenda 21 Radio is going to be joining us. He has, I've been on his show a couple of times, and I would say that he is one of the most informed people on, the MAGA, and they run a thing. It's called MAGA, Make America Great Again, Political Action Coalition. So incredible, deep insights. I mean, I've got a lot, obviously, 35 years. In the SEAL teams at the highest levels and in the CIA, traveling all over the world in combat zones, some of which are getting hit right now by Iran as the war escalates there between us and the Iranians, trying to take them out of power. So he's got great insights. I mean, I've been on, like I said, been on his show, and he has come forward with information that I didn't even know. So he is extremely well informed, and he's going to be talking about some very important things, I think, that's going to help America going forward. We, the people, get up to speed and so forth. So without further ado, we have Paul. He's in the he's backstage right now. We're going to bring him up here in a second. But like I said, the Iranians are hitting us in Jordan, hitting our bases. Air stations in Jordan. I've had a couple of service members that have died many that have been wounded severely. One's missing. So this is a developing story. So we knew that this would probably get to this point where American service members would start to be, killed, unfortunately. So that's kind of where we're at. But this all stems all the way back, like President Trump has said, 47 years ago. He even said, I think 30 years ago, he was talking about, and I bet Paul probably knows some of this, where he was saying that we are going to have some problems with Iran if we don't deal with this now. And this was like 30 years or plus back, before he was in political office, way before he was in political office. So he has been on the front lines. Paul Preston with Agenda 21 Radio is on the front lines informing us and keeping us up to date. And Paul, thanks so much for joining us.
Well, Michael, it is absolutely a pleasure and an honor to be with you, and especially at a time like this, in our nation's history. It's pretty an epic time right now.
No doubt. And I was informing the audience that, I've done a couple shows with you, and I am stunned with your background knowledge and historical, overview of what's going on in America right now. And you guys have really been pushing the envelope, keeping people informed and bringing people up to date to what's really going on agenda-wise.
Right. Well, the New California State Movement has helped a lot in terms of pushing our efforts forward to inform the public, because we're one of the solutions to a big problem. But this problem has been growing for a long, long time. And as you were talking about, that this has been a 40+, almost a 50-year deal with Iran, but I would actually say it's been much longer than that, predating World War II, with Adolf Hitler and his visits to Iran, or actually it was Persia at the time. And Adolf Hitler's influence cannot be, it's felt today in what's going on with Iran, because it was Adolf Hitler who sort of got the Shah at the time, who was this same Shah Pavarotti, who was the Shah of Iran in 1979. He just got older, but he enamored him and impressed him so much that the Shah at the time gave him the title Hitler Shah.
Wow.
And ultimately that ended up to be Hitler's main history in Persia, because what happened was he declared that the Persian people were the perfect Aryan race. And so the Shah of Iran actually changed the name from Persia to Iran in 1936 in honor of Adolf Hitler.
Oh my God. Wow. Like I was telling the audience, your historical background and knowledge is like second to none. I've never heard anybody, talk about some of the things that you talk about. So another great reveal on this. So, wow. So do you think the son of the Shah, Pahlavi, he's still within that category of maybe influenced by Nazi type of?
I don't think so.
Okay, good.
I really don't think so.
Good.
But that's what's something's going on there with the son. But I think he just wants his place back as the Shah. It seems to me that the Shah of Iran kind of learned his lesson after World War II about what was going on with Adolf Hitler. And I think there was some regrets there, but because he leaned much more towards the United States than anything else after that. And he still had his, the British were still a big influence, even the Russians to some degree, but the Iranians were trying to stand on their own and they couldn't do it. So big deal happening.
Yeah, I spent a lot of time in Iraq, and the Iranian influence was devastating, to speak lightly, of events. Many service members, U.S. service members, on the mullahs that were there, and they destroyed temples and so forth that really inflamed and caused a civil war to break out, and that's all Iranian influence.
Well, yeah, and again, keep in mind this is the Persian Empire you're dealing with, really, and of course, what you have right now, the holdovers at the Iraqi Guard or Republican Guard, I guess they're called. Is there the Iranian Republican Guard? Is that what they're called? The IRG.
Right.
they are Nazis. They are real Nazis, and that's what they have to be looked at as, real Nazis. And they were the ones that, as communist Islamists, overran the embassy in 1979 with Jimmy Carter being president. And again, you can't look at the Jimmy Carter era as an era of strong military force by the United States or a strong United States. It was very much weak. Jimmy Carter really was a early Barack Obama to this country, is who he was. He was selling out like crazy. He sold out the Panama Canal for $1.
Yeah.
I mean, you have to go back and connect the dots, and see which presidents had what kind of connections where. And obviously, Jimmy Carter had some very, very odd connections, and one of them was to give away the Panama Canal. And then also he gave away everything to Iran. And I think he knew what he was doing. I thought it then. I remember back then, because I was way into all this stuff, historically speaking, I always have been. But I can remember that back then that I was telling people, this is a Nazi thing going on. Real simple. And the Nazis never, went away after World War II. In fact, we're now living in what's known as the Fourth Reich. Adolf Hitler survived the bunker. I was at the bunker in Berlin in 1992, and Christoph Neubauer, the guy who was very heavily involved in the Hunting Hitler series, and Peter Levenda, he wrote the book called The Rat Line. I think if people want a perspective, they need to get a perspective by reading his books, The Rat Line, and also The Hitler Legacy, which is what we're living in right now. He dials it in. You read it, and it's all right there, and it tells you all the connected dots to the CIA, to everybody around the world, and especially in Indonesia. Indonesia's got all the wealth of the Germans and also of the Chinese when they took over, or when they lost the Silk Road to Japan. All that money was transferred over. All the gold and wealth was transferred to Indonesia. And so that Indonesia kind of runs the Nazis around the world. But it was a real clear case of, after World War II, that the Catholic Church was much involved. And again, I'm not rapping on all Catholics, and I come from a Catholic family, so don't, these are real-time history things. The Catholic Church and formed rat lines, and all the German soldiers, high-end German elites were all ushered out and put into various rat lines around the world, and became the world's diaspora for Nazism. Yeah. And of course, a lot of them really settled in the United States. It wasn't just Operation Paperclip, right. But we've had, even up there where you're at, I used to live in Plumas County, right next to you. I recognize the trees, by the way, and I miss them like crazy. I always used to tell people, anytime I wanted to really relax, I'd go out my backyard and pull up a chair and just stare at the bark on the tree. And I was good. That's good. But even reports of sightings of Nazis in Plumas County, Sierra County, any place that looked at Tahoe, there was very much evidence in the 50s, 60s, and 70s, and even the 80s. And even down here, up around here, we've gotten a number of reports in Marysville, up to Colusa, up to Reading, of various Nazi officials that escaped the war. Well, Jerry Brown, he lives in Colusa County, and the Browns were known to be his Nazi affiliates. And Edmund G. Brown was actually the guy who helped put together the package for Indonesia in the overthrow of Sukarno. And if you read the book by Peter Levenda, you find out that Adolf Hitler was actually actively involved in that overthrow. And so you have Edmund G. Brown comes in as a sharp attorney in the 50s and 60s and arranges the financials for Indonesia. And his deal was that he was getting $1 per barrel of per every barrel pumped of light sweet crude out of Indonesia. And Jerry Brown was his dad.
Wow.
So, yeah.
Obama comes out of that area too. So that's,
Who does?
Obama.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, well, Obama comes out of Indonesia, absolutely, and Jerome Corsi's the one. I worked with Jerome Corsi with a bunch of people back 12. That's now, it's 20 years ago. Actually, Jerome caught me on this. I said, "Hey, didn't we get together 50?" No, Paul, it was 20 years. So we go back a long ways from Social Security number to the in the channel there, Loretta Fuddy. And the whole idea that Obama was not an American. He wasn't born here. He was born in Indonesia, and he was a Subud. And the Subuds are a special Muslim cult, and he's very much a Subud as his father. If you take a look at Muhammad Subud, anybody look it up. You tell me that's not the template for Barack Obama. Guy looks identical. Phenotypes are in play there, but this whole thing is Nazi aided. I mean, we were one of the first programs with Chris Street who started calling out, asking the questions. Well, why in 2006 did they start flying 200 military-age men every day from Tehran to Caracas, Venezuela? They did this continually until recently when Trump raided Venezuela. So why were they doing that? I mean, think about it. Now, you got the Hitler influence in Iran, and you also have the Hitler influence in Egypt. Hitler was the co-companion to Muhammad what's his name? I can't remember his last name right now, but he helped to form the Muslim Brotherhood. And this is in 1928 in Muhammad al-Banna. And the two of them, and now it's kind of interesting because I go back and check history every once in a while on the internet just to see what's going on. When you get to the Nazi thing, boy, they start hiding stuff. So you won't find a lot of articles now that talk about Obama forming the Muslim Brotherhood, but the telltale history of Obama is that the telltale history is the very first place that he spoke internationally was in Cairo. And what he demanded was that Mubarak free all the Muslim Brotherhood in order for him to speak, that he in Cairo, which was in January of 2009, that he would free all the Muslim Brotherhoods of Egypt, because Mubarak wasn't stupid. He had these guys locked up. They're Nazis is what they are. Wow. And so he had them locked up, and so Mubarak said, "I'm not going to do that." And he says, "Well, you get no more military aid from the United States, so you have them there in my speech." And so Mubarak did. He freed them, and all the leaders of the Muslim Brotherhood sat right in the front row of the theater at Cairo University to hear Obama speak.
Wow!
And that was in 2009, and before that, you had the Muslim Brotherhood had already made itself present in the United States and declaring it was going to overthrow the United States.
Jeez.
But so the Nazis are the Nazis. We get it from the Shia Nazis or the Sunni Nazis, and that's the divisions of course, the Islam. As you know, the Muslims. You have Sunni Muslims in Saudi Arabia and Iraq, and then you have Shia Muslims in Iran.
Right. Two
different breeds of cat, but they're cats nonetheless.
And they fight all the time.
So you can see what they're doing with, and you maybe now people can understand Trump's strategy in Venezuela, why he went there first the way he did, and it wasn't just because you had the drugs and you had the oil and you had the dictatorship, and oh, by the way, you have the crooked elections, right. But it's a Nazi breeding camp, and of course, what was the main ground force we have today that's inside? We have Trende de Agua, and there's the other big one too that's got worth trillions of dollars. I can't remember the name of that one right now, but these are not good people in our country, and there's a plan for them. You can bet. You're a military guy, you know how these things work. There's a plan for them to do some sort of emergence, but Trump is doing the right thing. I don't care what anybody says. Right. But this is a battle of epic proportions that I don't think people comprehend yet. And I was really happy that Donald Trump came out and made the speech the other night. I was. It was kind of interesting. You and I and everybody who's in this genre, we all understand what happened with the elections for them. It was crooked, and we just accept it as the norm. But most of America doesn't get it yet. And it's kind of funny because everybody's looking around like, what did he say? They still don't get it. But what Donald Trump
out in December of 2020,
yeah,
and said this many votes on this in Michigan, this many votes, I was winning, and then middle of the night he basically did a big speech, and no one seems to even know that. So he's been ahead of this for a long time.
Well, I have a document that I'm going to post up, and it's a document, and I won't read it right now, but it's a document that I wrote as one of our grievances because we declared independence in 2018, January 2018, and then we saw the elections, and we saw the rigging that was gone, and we'd already been on top of this. As one of the main reasons why we wanted to separate from California is because the elections are corrupted, and we knew one way to do this was to break up the union, not break it up, but break up the system. So if we became a state, we would not use any of the machines. We'd be manual, and that can't be tolerated in this. As you know, that all has to be linked together in one system, else it really kind of falls apart, and you can't use the algorithms properly. And so we would break that up and put a stop to this because we would determine our own set of circumstances for elections. And that was one of the main reasons why we started, because we saw the election system at the time. But then 2020 comes around, and we were very fortunate to have the numbers guy, and he understood the algorithm. We heard that there was an algorithm being used. But Dr. Shiva reported it. He didn't give it an algorithm, and our numbers guy broke the algorithm within hours. And we had all the data, all the facts and figures at the end of November 4th.
It was like every county, you could see the same process in every single county across the United States. 3,000.
That's right.
Counties.
And our numbers guy had it completely taken down. He had everything in. We sent within a day, we sent everything to Donald Trump. So he knew what the numbers were, at least from us. I'm sure, he's a gambling man. I mean, he sets up casinos. He knows about algorithms and gaming machines and things like that, which is the core of those machines. So I wrote a grievance on December 1st, 2020, and it's very telling about the elections and everything. It spells the whole thing out just from the information we had at hand. But, since then, we've got mountains of information that's more conclusive. But one of the things we pointed out in that writing before anybody even thought about it was that there were about 3.1 million missing ballots from California's election system that we tabulated, that the numbers guy figured out. He was the first guy to do it. And he goes, where are these things going? Well, it turns out that all the 5 battleground states used all those votes that were peeled off of California. And when you take those 5 numbers and add them together, it equals the amount that was missing from California. Wow. And our numbers guy figured that out within days, that's where they went. And of course, that's what he was saying on the 20th.
That's how they legitimized the stolen votes in all these different states. Wow. Incredible. Inserted all those votes.
Yeah.
I haven't heard that before. It's incredible. Wow.
So this is stuff my point is Donald Trump gets up and he really does what the president of the United States is supposed to do. He now tells us, he puts the American public on notice. We have been warred against in a big way. People have declared war on us, and we have not declared war on them. This is serious stuff. Serious treason has been committed. High crimes and treason have been committed here. And I think that just by briefly reading over some of the stuff that the CIA has done and the briefings and things like that. It was all treasonous. But then you have your own treason here at home and here in our own states, like Gavin Newsom, Jerry Brown, all these guys. Jerry Brown had a big hand in the 2014 Color Revolution, and he provided the California National Guard in Kiev as a sniper unit, and the snipers were deployed, and they trained Ukrainians and Russians how to and Ukrainians in Kyiv. And of course, that's the Antifa style. You get one going against the other and play the middle as Hegelian. And that was part of the John Brennan strategy for the overthrow of the Russian that was there. And so now you've got this whole thing going on with the Ukrainian war, which is really what that started. Now, who is at the root of the Ukrainian war? The Azov Nazis.
Oh yeah.
Hello.
There we go. Yep.
They were at the root of that evil. So this is the stuff that we're dealing with. We're dealing with Nazis again, and Putin doesn't like it. And I'm not I like Putin in the sense that he's not any Ukrainian. He's not an Azov Nazi, but he's got his own set of issues and his own set of problems. But I don't think he wants to have another war with Nazis. You got to remember that in 1943, Adolf Hitler decided to invade Moscow, and at a little place called Kursk, the Russians successfully stopped the Tiger tanks that were running over everybody, and they lost about 3 million men in 3 days.
Wow.
So that's a hurt on the Russians, and they don't forget. I've talked to Russians from that area, and they said, "No, we lost family. We don't forget." And so this whole thing about Napoleon, Hitler, and Napoleon again trying to conquer Russia is still a big thing fresh in their minds. So that's what they're trying to do, is set up the Azov. The Azov Nazis never disbanded after World War II.
No. And the Nazi concentration camps were in Poland. So
Poland.
They're all in Poland too. Not all in Poland, but in that area right bordering Ukraine.
Right.
That's where they're getting most of the NATO supplies through Poland.
Yeah, there's too many connected dots to Nazis again.
Yeah.
And communists. But
wow.
The communists are not as influential in Russia as they were before. But they've thrown off the communists. And a lot of people still think the Russians are communists, and the Russians aren't communist.